and Iowa getting set to do it on the 86th homecoming in Illinois football history. Here's the approach, and we are underway. Good leverage into this kick, and it is taken by one of the deep backs, Damien Robinson. Robinson out to the 25-yard line, where the Iowa Hawkeyes will put it in play with a 1st and 10. The Hawkeyes are led by junior quarterback Matt Sherman. Sherman's completed 54% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and last week he was 18 of 37, 192 yards, 3 interceptions in the contest against Ohio State. Matter of fact, what hurt Iowa against Ohio State was that the Buckeyes had 5 scoring drives, and 4 of them were less than 30 yards in that ball game. So 1st down for the Hawkeyes from their 25. Shaw, the lone setback. Knipper, the tight end, in motion, and they go to Shaw deep. Shaw out to the 30-yard line on a gain of about 5 yards. Dennis Stallings in pursuit and made the stop. The Wheaties offense for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Sedrick Shaw, one of the leading rushers in Iowa football history. On the line, Ross Verbal leads the way. Bill Reardon, another veteran on that line. Derek Rose starting in place of Mike Goff, who was slated to start this season on the offensive line, but has been bothered by back injuries. 2nd and 5 now for the Hawkeyes. Again, they get motion from the tight end, and the running back follows to that side. Sedrick Shaw has the 1st down to the 36-yard line. They make that Toriano Woods on the stop for the Illinois Fighting Illini. The Wheaties defense, Paul Marshall and Garrett Johnson played their best games last week. Ramil Connor is a coming talent on this defensive front for Illinois. Dennis Stallings, a Butkus Award candidate, as we mentioned. Eric Gunther's played very well inside. Danny Clark returns to health and to the lineup this week. And in the secondary, James Williams, a good cover corner. 1st down, Iowa. No score. Opening drive of the ball game. Berger in motion. Sedrick Shaw picks his way for about 4 yards to the 40-yard line. And again, Stallings is there defensively for Illinois, along with the linebacker Dennis James. James has had chronic sore knees this season, and he was slated to start, but Eric Gunther has gotten much of the duty due to the fact that James has been injury-riddled this season.
And even Eric Gunther was banged up in last week's game, so both players at that position are nursing injuries.
2nd down and 6 now for the Hawkeyes. Shaw follows Knipper around the right end, and a beautiful tackle made in the open field by Asim Plez. No gain. It will be a 3rd down and 6 coming up for Iowa.
Iowa is trying to take their fullback out into the slot position to have him serve as a better blocker, but look at the defensive backs come up for Illinois right here. They close it on the outside. Plez doesn't let Shaw break to the outside and then makes the arm tackle. Good job fighting off that block and then bringing Shaw down with an arm. You don't see that happen a lot.
Iowa 3rd downs, just 29% conversions for the offense this season. They have struggled in this department. Penalty marker is down. Tavian Banks, nowhere to go. Lost a couple of yards. Penalty markers down. It looked like some premature movement on the Iowa offensive front. Jim Kemmerling is the Big Ten referee on hand for this afternoon's game in the white cap. Here's the call.
Illegal motion on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
To the sidelines, and let's check in with Jim Barber.
Thank you, Wayne. This is going to be my best friend today and probably the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Illini as well. This space heater is being put to a lot of use today. In fact, a lot of the guys have already positioned themselves in front of it, as you see, trying to stay warm. We're just 2 minutes into the game, and this has become the most valuable player so far.
Send one of those up here, will you?
Yeah, I will.
There's a high snap to Nick Gallery. Just did get that away. End-over-end kick. And it caroms out of bounds in the neighborhood of the 33-yard line, where it'll be a 1st down for Illinois. So the defense did hold Iowa on the first sequence. And now the offense gets an opportunity. Scott Weaver playing with an injured left hand. He cut that hand in the game last week at Northwestern, and he was outstanding in that ball game. Weaver, a graduate student in the MBA program here at Illinois, sends his troops up to the line of scrimmage. Weaver last week, 20 of 28, with just one interception. First down for the Fighting Illini. The fake to Holcomb and a naked bootleg roll. Diving attempt made, and the pass incomplete on the near side, intended for the tight end Matt Cushing. And let's take a look at this offensive setup brought to you by Wheaties. Robert Holcomb, the big game last week, over 160 yards at Northwestern. And the offensive line, Jay Kuchenbecker, and this line is improving week by week. The Shaw twins at the tackle spots. Illinois 2nd and 10. Rodney Bird, the fullback, in front of Holcomb, and they toss it wide. Holcomb to the short side of the field. Gets maybe a yard to the 34-yard line. Steered out of bounds by Bill Ennis-Enge on the near side. And we take a look at the Wheaties Iowa defense. Ennis-Enge, the veteran of that defensive front. DeVries, Klein, LaFleur, Chambers, all playing very well up front for Iowa. Matt Hughes, Vernon Rollins are two sophomore linebackers you'll hear a lot from. And Damien Robinson is hitting anything that moves on or off the field for Iowa these days. He's having an outstanding season. Iowa a little bit different, Randy Wright, this year, in that they're playing a little more man-to-man defense back there in the secondary.
Well, when you've got a good secondary, you can play man-to-man. It frees up your front 7 people to be very aggressive, and that's where we've seen Iowa be different this year.
Illinois was very good on 3rd down a week ago. They're 3rd and 9, and this will not get it done. Jason Dulick ushered to the chalk marks on the near side by Bill Ennis-Enge. And Iowa's defense has held Illinois. Gain of a couple of yards to the 36-yard line. It's 4th down. I thought I saw a flag thrown on that play late. I'm wondering if it might have been for a hit out of bounds.
On the offense, the receiver stepped out of bounds, came in, and was the first to touch it. The penalty is loss of down, 4th down.
So that's the call. Apparently, the receiver on the near side had stepped out of bounds and Troy came back in. Jason Dulick.
And it really doesn't hurt the situation because Illinois would be forced to punt anyway.
So on to do the punting, Jason Higgins. Twin safeties back deep for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And Higgins with the wind to his back gets off a beautiful punt. Demo Odoms muffs it at the 5 into the end zone, and he's caught for the safety. Illinois on the board, thanks to its special teams and a mistake by Demo Odoms.
And the wind. You saw where Demo Odoms did not think that punt was going to go near as far as it did. The wind and the beautiful punt forced him backwards, and he was out of position to catch the ball. Nice hustle by Dulick to get down there. Here's the receiver, a starter, a 4-year player for them that's on special teams. Jason Dulick comes down there, makes the hit in the end zone, and gets some quick points for Illinois.
Jim Kemmerling, and we're not able to pick it up, is ruling that the momentum of the kick carried the ball into the end zone, and that Demo Odoms did not have control of it when he muffed it, and that it went into the end zone, and thus the impetus was from the kicker on the ball rather than the player pushing it into the end zone, and thus not a safety but a touchback. They're explaining it right now to Lou Tepper, and we will return. Iowa takes over, getting a break at their 20-yard line with no score. Well, Demo Odoms appeared to muff a punt at the 8-yard line, but watch this now, Randy. I think this is what Jim Kemmerling was ruling, that the impetus of the ball carried into the end zone. That's what he ruled. Now, based on that picture, it looked to me like the ball was actually kneed into the end zone by the receiver, which would mean that he'd have to recover it and get it out of there, or it's a safety. But no score, and Iowa takes over with a first down, and Sedrick Shaw gets a yard or two out to the 22-yard line. David James in the middle of that Illinois defense on the tackle. David James, a starter a year ago. They got the start here today for Illinois. 2nd and 8 for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Rashard Carter on the reception out near the 27-yard line on a gain of 5 underneath the coverage of James Williams, and a career-high 5 reception, 87 yards for Carter last week against Ohio State.
That's one thing, Wayne, the Iowa offense has gotten this year is production from several players. Tim Dwight, that we talked about in the open, he's the big play maker for Iowa. But every week, a different receiver has stepped up. Last week, it was Carter. A couple weeks ago, it was Gibson. Timo Odoms, he's going to contribute. Somebody else rises along with Dwight.
There's Tim Dwight. Will he be the target on 3rd down and 3? Well, quick slant to Gibson, who leads this team in average yards per catch, and he's got a first down at the 37-yard line. Asim Plez made the stop for Illinois. So far, Randy, we've seen exactly the opposite of what we talked about a few moments ago in the open of the show. And that is, we expected Illinois ball control and Iowa to look downfield. Well, Iowa has been more ball control in the first 2 drives that we've seen here today.
And they're going into a very strong wind. I think what they're doing is they want to see what kind of defensive scheme Illinois is going to play so they can pick and choose how to attack them for the big play.
First down from the 37. Berger, normally a fullback in motion. Sedrick Shaw gets a block from Bill Reardon, makes the turn, and they go all the way. Shaw to the 25 and chased out of bounds near the 20-yard line. Trevor Stargill steered him to the chalk marks. It's a first down. They're going to mark it to the 22-yard line.
What a nice job by Shaw to take this all the way to the outside. Look at number 63, Reardon. As you said, he's the center pulling on the sweep play. You very seldom see that, but that key block gives Shaw the angle to get to the outside, and then it takes Stargill all the way over from the left corner to come back. Sedrick Shaw is not a great scat back runner. He is a north and south runner, and he's got excellent speed. When he gets to the outside, very seldom do you catch him.
So first down at the 22-yard line of Illinois. Knipper in motion. Sedrick Shaw gets a couple of yards this time. He had 31 yards on the previous carry. Gets about 3 yards here. Let's go to the Big Ten studio for an update from Mike Gleason. Mike?
All right, Wayne, Big East, Miami at Temple. A lot of scoring early. Temple's actually on the board, but the Canes are in twice. That's Trent Jones from 3 yards out. Miami 14-6 over Temple. Let's go back to Wayne and Randy.
Right here, no score, but Iowa on the drive, facing a second down at about 7 yards to go. Matt Sherman at the quarterback controls. Tavian Banks is the tailback. And Banks gets the call. Banks lost the football. The Illini say they've got it. I think the officials may have whistled it dead. But as he went into a crowd, he dropped that football, and the Illini came up with it, but Cyron Brown came away, but the officials had whistled it dead. I think we can see it before he hits the ground. Let's see if we can pick it up.
See Banks in the middle right there.
There it is.
You see the knee was down. It looked as though his knees hit, and then as his body was falling forward, the ball came out. So it looked from that angle to be a good call by the officials.
Sure did. Tavian Banks this season for 5 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. He is the touchdown maker for Iowa. Third down for the Hawkeyes. Sherman into the flat. Tim Dwight made the catch. Forward progress will determine whether he's got the first down. I believe he's a yard short at the 13-yard line. James Williams with a good, sure tackle on the play.
Iowa doing a good job of spreading out the offense and forcing Illinois to be in a zone. Then you could throw this kind of pass, the short, quick hitch, and let Dwight catch the ball. What a nice catch he made for a ball thrown behind him. But by the time the adjustment was made, so many Illini players were over there, he didn't have enough time to pick up the extra yards to get the first.
Gusick is the man who made the hit that prevented the first down. And Iowa's going for it here with 7:38 to go in a scoreless first quarter. 4th down and 1. Berger in motion. Sedrick Shaw slips a defender. Touchdown.
Touchdown, Hawkeyes.
Sedrick Shaw on a 13-yard touchdown run, and the Iowa Hawkeyes on 4th and 1 break on the scoreboard.
13-yard run.
Well, you see it happen often, Wayne. When you go for it on 4th down, you not only get the first down, you get the touchdown. Look in the top left corner. Look at Tim Dwight throw that block on Williams that allows Shaw to get all the way into the end zone. You hear a lot about Dwight's big play ability, but you see him throw the block down there, which allows a teammate to score a touchdown.
Point after touchdown from Zach Brommer, and into the wind it goes, and he has got it. So the Iowa Hawkeyes with 7:25 to go in the first quarter, on the strength of Sedrick Shaw's 13-yard touchdown run, take the lead. Last year, Iowa managed all of 21 yards rushing in their game against Illinois in Iowa City. Here in this first quarter, Sedrick Shaw, 8 carries, 74 yards, including a 13-yard touchdown run to put the Hawkeyes on top 7-0, capping an 8-play, 80-yard drive for the Hawkeyes.
And Sedrick Shaw has been banged up the last couple of weeks. We were told he's not completely healthy today. Hard to convince Lou Tepper of that. He looks very good early.
Brian Hurley kicking off into the wind. And Hurley gets off a short kick as expected, taken by one of the upbacks for Illinois. Toriano Woods returns to the 31-yard line where it'll be a first down. And Ed Gibson made the stop for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Wayne, one thing with Scott Weaver, last week he had his best game maybe as a quarterback, completed 71% of his passes. Going against Iowa in the man-to-man coverage they play, he's not going to complete near that many passes. He has to know that. The passes he completes may go for bigger plays because it's man-to-man, but he can't get impatient if he throws incompletions early.
Holcomb is the tailback. Out there the fullback, and Weaver calling the play at the line. 3-step drop. The toss into the flat. Rod McJoy makes a play out to the 46-yard line, a first down. On a gain of about 15 yards, Vernon Rollins made the stop.
This was a play that you game plan against man-to-man coverage. You have 2 receivers on the outside, and what they do is crisscross. One works as a pick for the other. That's why you see in man-to-man coverage, your receiver is so open. One guy coming inside gets in the way of the other guy, opens the path for McJoy.
First down just across the Illini 45. They fake the reverse, and Robert Holcomb, not shy about contact, bowls over Kerry Cooks down to the Iowa 46-yard line on a gain of about 8 yards.
Well, you could hear the contact in the press box. You could also hear the Iowa defenders yelling reverse. When you fake the reverse like that, what you do is you slow the defense down in their pursuit, and it lets Robert Holcomb get his momentum going. And we have seen this guy, when he gets that momentum going, he can deliver a blow.
Second down at about 2 for Illinois, and Weaver needs a timeout. So the Illini take a timeout here with 6:26 to go. Illinois with the wind to its back on the drive against the Iowa Hawkeyes, trailing by the score of 7-0 on a chilly afternoon in Champaign. Wayne Larrivee with Randy Wright and Jim Barber. Iowa leading Illinois 7-0, 6:26 to go in this first quarter. Here are your Amoco Big Ten leaders. Amoco, you expect more from a leader, and yes, we have the leaders in kickoff returning. Richard Carter for Iowa, George McDonald Ashford for Illinois in this ball game today. 2nd and 2, Illinois. Holcomb tried to get past John LaFleur, but could not. And the Iowa defensive lineman made the stop. Gain of 1, 3rd and 1 coming up for Illinois. And let's get back to Mike Gleason. What do you have on the ACC for us, Mike?
Well, Wayne, NC State and North Carolina. Carolina on the move. Keldorf leaves the pocket, 34 yards down to Nate Brown to the 2-yard line. Leon Johnson takes it up the middle for 6. Carolina goes for 2 but fails. They've had their problems with the extra points, but they lead at 12-zip. Wayne?
Thank you, Mike. Right here, 7-0. Iowa on top. Illinois facing 3rd and 1. They got a power I formation. Third and down, third ahead of Holcomb, and Robert Holcomb picks his way, and he was met by Damien Robinson right at the first down marker on the 44-yard line. Now the lead forward progress, and Robert Holcomb got the job done, but I'll tell you this, Damien Robinson is one of the best hitting safeties we have seen in the Big Ten this season.
Well, he not only is an excellent speed guy, but he will come up and force the run. Look at number 44, though, Rodney Byrd, deliver the blow for Illinois. He's a fullback. They put him in there mostly as a blocker, and when he is out, as he has been a couple times the last couple of games because of injuries, the running game really suffers. He is very important in that.
They don't have the punch in their running game when he's not in there. And again, that's the fullback, the block of the point of attack generally. When you don't have that, Randy, you have to use other people, don't you? Maybe you roll a tight end in motion, that type of thing?
Well, it really takes away your inside running game because you can't afford to miss the block and have a negative yardage play.
It's a first down for Illinois, the 44. Weaver off play action, going deep. And the pass just off the mark, intended for Marcus Mosley. Pretty good coverage down the sidelines by Damien Robinson, the safety.
When you have a good running game, you play action and you try to catch Iowa, which is a team that will come up to the run. But here, Robinson, that forces the run very well, doesn't bite on it at all. In fact, he's behind the receiver in pretty good position to play that ball.
Second down and 10 for Illinois. Holcomb cutting it back. Now bouncing to the outside. First down and more to the Iowa 30-yard line. Damien Robinson forced him out of the near side. It is a first down on a gain of 14 yards.
Take a look at how Holcomb sets up his blocks. He takes it to the outside. He sets up the block right there for number 72, Kuchenbecker, and then he cuts inside, gets some room.
Boy, well-executed play. And, you know, I'll tell you, the Illinois wide receivers, and we've been told this on several occasions by several different coaching staffs, are some of the best blocking wide receivers in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with him. After having seen Illinois throughout the season, I think that's very true.
First down from the 30, Weaver. Jason Dulick makes one man miss, and he's got the first down to the 19-yard line. The veteran Jason Dulick. Vernon Rollins got over to make the hit on the play and is slow in getting up.
Nice job here by Weaver, getting the ball to Dulick so that Dulick can put this move on the defender. If the quarterback is slow getting it there, the receiver's going to get killed because the DB comes up and makes the hit. You get it there quickly, he can make the move.
Jason Dulick.
Wayne, this is the offense we saw Illinois run so well last week, and right here on this drive, they're picking up where they left off. Shorter passing game and mixing it in with some positive runs.
First down at the Iowa 19. Holcomb would have to get it on his own, and he's outnumbered, and Damien Robinson got over to make the play. Also forcing that play, Brett Chambers, and we've seen on 2 plays to his side of the field this afternoon already, Randy, where they've tried to do some deception. He hasn't bought the fakes. He stayed in his lane and forced the play.
Well, when, as an offense, you're counting on deception to help in the play, and it doesn't work, you don't have a lot of options. There aren't a lot of other things you can do. Chambers stays at home. He realizes that's his job. He's going to let Robinson and the safeties come up and make the big hits.
A loss of 1 on that play, second and 11. The belly play to the fullback, and Ty Doutherd picks up a couple of yards down to the 18, gain of about 2. It'll be 3rd and 9 coming up for Illinois. The wind gusting 15 to 20 miles per hour. Directly behind the Fighting Illini offense.
3rd and 9, not an easy pickup against an aggressive defense like Iowa. If you're Scott Weaver, make sure you protect the ball. If it's open, take it, but don't force something and take your team out of field goal opportunity.
You see Dulick at the top of your screen. There is Mosley wide at the 20-yard line. Little inside pass, and Jason Dulick's got 6. Touchdown! You saw Dulick in the slot. All he did was sift over to the middle, Randy, and it opened up for him.
Well, it was a great call by Paul Shudell, the offensive coordinator. A wide receiver screen. guessing that Iowa would be in the blitz. Watch guys come. They come untouched. Now you see all the linemen in front of Dulick. There's just one defender back there. Dulick does a nice job. Weaver did a great job, too, of letting the rush come to him before he threw the ball.
Neil Rackers for the point action. And the Fighting Illini have caught their rivals from Iowa at 7 apiece with 3:53 to go in this first period of play. Jason Dulick on a 17-yard touchdown reception.
You know, Wayne, that drive there tells you a little bit about the Illinois frame of mind. They are a team that's 2-5, but yet they are trying to build on last week's game. After giving up the big play and the touchdown to Iowa, their offense comes right back and puts another 7 on the board.
Well, they've had the wind to their back in this first quarter, Randy. I'm anxious to see what Iowa does. Iowa has run very much a ball control offense into the wind in this first quarter. Now, in a little less than 4 minutes, Iowa will have the wind to its back, and we'll start seeing some of those deep routes, I'm sure.
I think you're right. The wind will not help or hurt Illinois' offense as much as it will help and hurt Iowa's offense.
That scoring drive against the Iowa defense, 10 plays, 69 yards, took 3:32 off the clock, and again, a great call on the final play, a little wide receiver screen over the middle to Jason Dulick. He made one man miss, and that's all that was left in the box. They had vacated the zone.
You like to be carrying the ball and have 4 blockers in front of you, and one little DB is the only guy in a white jersey.
Tim Dwight dropping back deep. And again, Tim leads the nation in punt returning, and he's not bad as a kick returner either. Rashard Carter's the more dangerous kick returner, however. Carter leads the Big Ten in kickoff returns at 25 yards per pop. Here's a line drive kick, and it bounds to Tim Dwight. Dwight cuts it back across the 30, and he's out near the 31-yard line where it'll be a first down. Toriano Woods made the tackle.
Now that's a situation, Wayne, where as a kicker, you've got a very strong wind behind it. You've got dangerous return men. You got to kick the ball up and hope the wind takes it out of the end zone. You take Tim Dwight out of the play.
Iowa and Illinois tied at 7 apiece as Matt Sherman steps back onto the field. At the Iowa 31. Sedrick Shaw is in the slot at the bottom of your screen. Everybody out for a pass, and they set up the screen at Toriano Banks, and he's nailed on the Fabian Banks, and he's nailed back inside the 30-yard line to the 26, a loss of 5. James made the stop. David James read it beautifully.
He read it beautifully, and he read it early. As a quarterback, when you see that, you got to throw it away. But take a look at number 42. He's covering Banks. He reads the guard coming out. He fights through the block, and then he makes a tackle one-on-one. Nice play by David James.
This is the best we've seen David James this year.
Well, he's probably a little healthier now, but I agree with you. As we've seen him, this is the best he has played.
Second and long. Sherman again looks to the air. Tim Dwight open, could not hang on. Hasim Plez knocked it away as Dwight went to the stadium floor near the 39-yard line.
One thing speed gives you is your defenders play farther off of you. That's one reason Dwight is so open right here. They don't want him to get deep. He runs a simple in route. It's wide open. Sherman just makes a bad pass.
Hasim Plez almost picked that off. He not only knocked it away, he had a good shot to grab it. Hasim Plez has played well in the secondary this season for Illinois. 3 interceptions this season. Third down and 15. Four-man rush. Sherman's got his man over the middle. Sedrick Shaw made one man miss, but he needed a lot of yards, and he got about, I'd say about 7 or 8, maybe 10, and that's not enough for the first down.
This is one thing you'll see Iowa do a lot today. The linebackers drop so deep. Matt Sherman back here, seeing that everybody downfield is covered, dumps the ball off to his back. You'll see a lot of room between where the back catches the ball until the linebackers come up to make the tackle.
Nick Gallery, second of the Big Ten in punting, gets off a nice punt into the wind. And a fair catch signal made by Marcus Mosley. The Illini will settle for it near their 20-yard line with a 1st and 10. To the sideline, Jim Barber, what do you have on quarterback Scott Weaver, Jim?
Wade just spoke to him moments ago, and he's fine with that hand. In fact, as you know, he played with that hand and the large gap or jagged edge, the cut he had last week against Northwestern that required over 20 stitches. Said the hand feels fine. He feels good. The only part of his game is he feels cold, just like everybody else down here.
Yeah, but you've got those beautiful heaters down there to warm you up whenever you need.
Well, you know what? The players push me away from there, Wayne. I guess they get first priority here.
Well, we've also seen, though, Jim, you've got a full stomach. So that hopefully will keep you warmer.
Randy, I'm coming up there momentarily, so make room.
He's got a lot of fuel in that gas tank, doesn't he? First down at the 20. Here's Robert Holcomb. Good cutback. Nice hole. Well-executed play. And a pickup of 7 yards to the 27-yard line. Over to make the stop is Damien Robinson for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
One thing Iowa does as a defensive front seven is they move a lot. Illinois wants to go on quick counts and run to the outside so they can trap that movement inside their tackle box and let their back get to the outside. You saw it happen there. Holcomb did a nice job. When you pick up 7 yards on first down, it really opens things up for Scott Weaver and a Paul Shudell to call a lot of different plays.
Dulick and Majoy form a slot on the bottom of your screen on second down, and Weaver looking short. Jason Dulick could not hang on in traffic. Had Vernon Rollins with him along with Tom Knight near the 35-yard line, and it's 3rd down and 3 coming up for Illinois. Mike Gleason, how about that NC State game? He's here, Mike, with a little over a minute to go in this first quarter. 3rd down for Illinois. It's a short 3 yards to go. They're going wide to Holcomb to the short side of the field, and boy, good pursuit by the Iowa defensive front. LaFleur was out in front of that play. Vernon Rollins flowing to it as well as Matt Hughes. And it's 4th down for Illinois, no gain.
Well, when you run like that to the outside, to the short side of the field, if your tight end perimeter blocker doesn't get that block and the play gets stretched out at all, you really have no chance of picking up that first down.
So it is 4th down, and Tim Dwight back deep, about to do what he does better than anyone in the country. Return punts. Jason Higgins' kick sails toward the far side. Demo Odoms allows it to roll. It takes an Illinois bounce. And boy, they're going to watch this one roll to a stop near the 7-yard line, near the 6-yard line of Iowa. And it'll be 1st down at the 5. Well, Jason Higgins using the wind to help that average, but apparently Jason Dulick touched the ball near the 16-yard line, so he'll lose about 15 yards, 16 yards. He'll lose about 10 yards, I should say, 10 or 11 yards off of that punt. But Higgins having a good day with the wind to his back, and 31 more seconds for Iowa to go into the wind. A 56-yard punt that time. Illinois playing well defensively, and Iowa comes up to the line of scrimmage. Quarterback Matt Sherman. Berger with a long setback. Michael Berger. And they go to Berger, and Garrett Johnson makes the hit. No gain, back to the 16-yard line. It'll be a 2nd down and 10 coming up. Garrett Johnson has played all season with a bad ankle, and this has really hurt Illinois' inside pass rush. But in these past 2 weeks, we've seen Garrett Johnson at his healthiest, and Illinois has played much better defensively.
It's made a huge difference. When he is healthy and you get support from the outside, it really helps Paul Marshall on the inside because you can't double team him also.
Well, we're just past Halloween, and we're tied at 7. Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber. Let's get down to Jim. He's got a special guest with him.
Special indeed, Kevin Hardy, the all-world linebacker from Illinois, now with Jacksonville. First of all, it's a little difference in weather, I would imagine.
Oh, it's a lot different. You know, I took a flight into St. Louis, and when I got off, I was just freezing. I had on a T-shirt, and I said, golly, I just told me to bring a coat up here.
That reminds you of the old days here, huh?
Remind me of the old days. I mean, I'm down there in Florida in the sunny weather. It was about 8 degrees when I left. But, yeah, I got my coat on and my little earmuff thing, and it's freezing up here. I don't miss it a bit, though.
All right, hang on a second. We'll let Wayne take this in.
Second down for Iowa, about 9 yards to go. Sherman looking to make a play. Had Gibson deep, but the pass off the mark. Matt Sherman did well just to get rid of it. Let's get back to Jim.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Kevin, so far pretty good start in the pros. How is the NFL game, and how much different than what you have in college?
Well, actually, it hasn't been a whole lot different. I think, the speed of the game is a little different. Guys are a lot faster, a lot stronger. But overall, I mean, it hasn't been a big old change because what I see is I come out every Sunday and I'm facing a lot of guys that I faced in college. And so, I mean, it's just another step up, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us, and stay warm.
All right, I appreciate it. I'm going to try to.
He's like the mayor of Champaign here with all the people coming over to congratulate him, Wayne.
Can you imagine how popular he'd be if he had eligibility left? Third down and 9 for Iowa. Wide open. They threw the pass behind Tim Dwight. Good adjustment. First down out of the 40-yard line. Well, that's a 23-yard pass completion to a first down. And Dennis Stallings got back to make the hit.
You see, again, Tim Dwight in the threat of going deep because of his speed drives the deep safeties back. Here, another poor pass by Sherman, but because Dwight's so open, he can adjust to it. And then you see Stallings coming up to make the tackle. It's the linebackers. Those guys today, because the routes Iowa run are so deep, those guys really need to get a drop to get underneath that deep in route.
Much deeper drop for the linebackers here today for Illinois than they're used to. Sedrick Shaw for about 3 yards to the 43-yard line. And it's 2nd and 7 coming up for the Iowa Hawkeyes. First quarter numbers, score tied at 7 apiece, and the numbers pretty similar in terms of total yardage, although Iowa has the lead there in time of possession. But passing yardage, Iowa big advantage there. And understand, Iowa went into or I should say in rushing yardage, Iowa big advantage there. Passing yardage, Illinois had the edge, Randy, and that had to do with more they having the wind to their back, I would imagine, than...
I think that will balance out because Iowa's one of the few teams that almost to the yard is 50-50 rush yardage, passing yardage.
Knipper in motion. Sedrick Shaw cutting it back close to the first down near the midfield marker. It'll be 3rd and short for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Toriano Woods on the stop. The Iowa Hawkeyes are perhaps the most balanced team in the nation in terms of yardage. They average 172 yards a game through the air, 174 on the ground. But it is the aerial attack and the big plays they make with it that certainly get the headlines in Iowa City.
And they may not run as many running plays as they do passing plays, but if the yardage is balanced, it keeps the defense just as honest.
3rd down and less than a yard. Tavian Banks, the lone setback. Sherman calling the play at the line. They fumbled it. Bad exchange between Banks and Sherman, and I think Illinois got it. They'll wait to unravel the pile near the 49-yard line. And it's Illinois football.
Wayne, you always take the risk of a fumble when you audible, and Banks knew he was getting the ball, but it looked there as though Sherman handed it off high to him, and Banks couldn't get a firm grasp on it. This gives Illinois excellent field position, taking over on the plus side of the 50, even though they're going into the wind. Really helps you getting that kind of position. You see Garrett Johnson there, the man that recovered the ball.
So it'll be first down for Illinois at the 48-yard line of Iowa. Best field position to start a drive today for the Illini. We're tied at 7, early going second quarter. That's Dulick in motion. The tailback, Holcomb. Boy, they really sealed off the left flank of the Iowa defense, or left flank of the Illinois offense, and Holcomb gets about 6-7 yards on the carry. Damien Robinson forced him out.
That's the first thing, Wayne, that jumped out at me when I saw that play was the surge the left side of the Illini offensive line got, sealing off the pursuit and giving Holcomb plenty of room to get momentum and pick up positive yards. Again, 7 yards on first down, or 6 yards on first down.
2nd and 4, the football just inside the 42-yard line of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Robert Holcomb and Sedrick Shaw, the two outstanding running backs in this game. Hawkeyes violated the neutral zone. Penalty markers are down, and Ty Douthert, the fullback, has the first down to the 34-yard line. If this penalty is against Iowa, I'm sure Illinois would take the play if they can.
I think we're going to see offsides against Iowa is going to be the call.
Flags on the play.
Jim Kemmerling making sure he's got everything straight on the crew. And
offside on the defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
You know, Wayne, what that really does as a quarterback, when you get the defense to jump off sides, you not only get a free play because you get the 5 yards, but it gets them out of position and it gets them off balance. Watch as the Iowa defense jumps. Now they're going backwards, and the play runs right up the middle. So you give your offensive line the momentum to knock and block a player that's off balance.
First down for Illinois. Play action, and Weaver throws the defense well, and then undershot. Marcus Mosley, who makes the catch at the 31-yard line, a shoestring grab and a gain of about 3 yards down to the 31-yard line. To the studio, Mike Gleason. Dane on a pace to rush for 1,000 yards this season. Badgers really had nothing last week. They gave up 471 yards to Michigan State, but appear to be in much sturdier shape back at home this week. Holcomb gets the call on 2nd down. Holcomb just short of the 25-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down at about 2.5 yards to go.
Illinois showing the respect they have for that interior run defense for Iowa. Most of their running plays have been to the outside. They have tried to run inside on quick hitters to Douthert, but just to keep them honest, the bulk of what Holcomb has done today has been outside the outside linebackers.
And Randy, when you run up the middle on Iowa, you're looking at Jared DeVries, one of the outstanding sophomores, Aaron Klein at the nose guard spot, and then Vernon Rollins and Matt Hughes, the two inside linebackers, and you're running at the strength of the Iowa defense.
And those inside linebackers are very good.
3rd down at about 3. There's the belly play again, and this time Ty Douthert has the first down to the 20-yard line of Iowa. Paul Schudel really mixing things up well, gets 6 yards out of that call, and a 1st and 10 for Illinois.
And what he's doing so well is when he runs that quick belly to the inside, it is such a quick handoff, you don't give the linebackers time to react. You get the ball to Douthert and through the hole before the linebackers recognize the play and come up and make the hit.
You saw Damien Robinson, number 3, in that picture, how close he was to the line of scrimmage. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Paul Schudel was talking about how they might have something on a post later in the ball game, downfield. Holcomb waits for his blocking to set up. Bill Ennis in pursuit for Iowa. Among others, in on the stop. And Mike Gleason, Ohio State, Minnesota underway. Tell us about it. Oh, that is a scary sight, Mike. My goodness. 2nd down for the Fighting Illini of Illinois, who are tied with the Hawkeyes of Iowa at 7 apiece. 2nd and 7 at the 17-yard line of Iowa. Weaver from the shotgun. Little pump fake. Weaver vacates the pocket. Forced out of bounds by Kerry Cooks, and a loss of yardage back near the 19-yard line. Looked to be a loss of at least 2 yards. 3rd down coming up.
Illinois only sent 2 or 3 receivers out on that pass play. They kept everybody else in to protect for maximum protection. And when you only have 2 guys out and it's good coverage, there's not a lot of other people to go to. As a quarterback, those 2 aren't open. Throw the ball into the 2nd row in the stands. Don't try and run around and make something happen.
Illinois is at the 20-yard line of Iowa, in the red zone, so to speak. Iowa opponents, 26 possessions, 14 touchdowns this season coming into this afternoon's game. Dulick and Mosley form a slot to the bottom of your screen on 3rd down and 10. Robert Holcomb didn't get much there. He got about 3, maybe 4 yards, and the crowd not happy with that play call, as Illinois conservative brings the field goal unit on. On 3rd and 10, they went to the ground game.
Well, when you're on the 20-yard line, 3rd and 10, going into a stiff wind with as aggressive as Iowa's defense is, you don't want to risk the sack. You don't want to risk the turnover. Here, at least, it looked as though Illinois trying to get in better field goal range.
Now they run a fake. And the snap up the middle and getting the call off the right side. Wilbert Smith for the touchdown.
The old fumble Ruski was that?
It sure looked like it.
They snapped the ball directly to Weaver. He puts it right down on the ground. Now Weaver's the holder on the field goal attempt. He comes up, takes the direct snap, puts it down, and they pick it right up and run it right in.
Hayden can't believe it. Take a look at it again, because Weaver was not back to receive a snap in terms of a field goal. We'll get it in a moment here as they kick the extra point. But Illinois is taking the lead in most unusual fashion. The kick is good by Neil Reckers. And the Fighting Illini of Illinois have a 14-7 lead over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Take a look at it.
You see, Weaver took the ball, he set it right down to the left, and Wilbert Smith picks it right up and goes in.
Boy, that's good. That is interesting offense, to say the least, and it has Illinois on top, 14-7. You don't see this often. Illinois took the lead on this play. It was, as Randy described, the fumble Ruski. Watch this.
Well, you can see the ball is snapped to Weaver. He sets it down right there. Then he comes out, and number 2 picks it up right behind the center. The ball is on the ground. Smith picks it up. Iowa goes for the fake. So good it fakes out the camera guys. And Smith runs in with a host of blockers in front of him.
Brett Schupline kicking it away. This one's going to sail out of, well, maybe not. Fair catch signal made. I don't know why the Hawkeyes didn't let that one get out of bounds, except that they may have felt that Illinois had coverage down there far enough, but the Hawkeyes make the catch at the 32-yard line. That's where they'll take over 1st and 10. Obviously, if they let it go and an Illini gets in there and catches it, it's Illinois' football. But
and even catching it there, you still got good field position. You know, Wayne, that play is the kind of thing you see Hayden Fry run. That's what he is known for, the wild plays, the plays that require the creativity. You don't see Lou Tepper and Paul Schudel run many of those plays, but it worked to perfection.
So what you're saying is that so far they've out-Haydened Hayden?
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I wouldn't say it again myself, to be honest with you. All right, it's
32 seconds.
They want 9:32 on the clock. They have 8:59 right now. So as soon as we get that squared away, Iowa will take over offensively. Again, that 48-yard drive, 9 plays. Lou Tepper's ball club leading 14-7. You know, in talking to the coaches yesterday, and you got the impression that their players were not beaten down by that disappointing loss in Evanston yesterday, or I should say last week.
They were very confident.
Our impression was that they made it a positive. Even though they were disappointed in the loss at Evanston against Northwestern, they made it a positive. Asim Plaz makes the hit, loss of 1. And boy, Sedrick Shaw, loss of a yard. It's 2nd down and 11 coming up. Jim, what do you have?
Thank you, Wayne. Back to that play that ended the touchdown for Illinois. It's called Beeline right, or beeline perhaps for the goal line. History of this, well, not much of it. They tried it last year in the non-conference game against Oregon, and believe it or not, didn't work. Of course, today, better success, Wayne.
And you don't see that play often. I'll tell you what. People don't pull that one out of the hat every week, do they?
It's not something that works every week. You've got to get it at the right time, just long enough where everybody's forgot that it's still there when you pull it back out.
I've seen 3 replays. I still didn't see Wilbert Smith pick it up. Sherman looking for a receiver. He's going to take it himself, and he's out of bounds. Ooh, almost a late hit on the play, but Sherman taken out of bounds on the near side by Danny Clark. It'll be 3rd down coming up. Mike Gleason, what do you have? Well, the Volunteers are 13-2 in their last 15 games. Both of those losses were to the University of Florida. Right here, 14-7 Illinois. And Iowa facing 3rd down.
This is where Iowa's offense is very dangerous. They're not afraid to go deep, but when you've got 3rd and only 4 to go, everything comes into their game plan.
Matt Sherman calls for a timeout. We're running out of time on the play clock, and so the Iowa Hawkeyes will talk things over. We are 2nd quarter, 8 minutes and 43 seconds left to go. A Herky Hawkeye down on the count, 14-7 at the moment. Illinois leading 14-7 over Iowa, and the Hawkeyes are up against the 3rd down, and it's not 4. It's a full 5 yards to go to that first down stick. Some of the fans made their way over from Iowa City. Not a bad drive.
Iowa fans follow that team everywhere.
Great fans in the state of Iowa. Demo Odom's at the top of your screen. Shaw was at the bottom. Sherman looking downfield, goes short to Shaw. And he's got a first down near the 47-yard line. 1st and 10 on a gain of almost 10 yards. Mike Gussick forced him out.
I mean, one thing that Illinois told us yesterday is they're only going to rush 3 guys. They've been rushing 4 guys all year and haven't got any pressure on the quarterback. So instead of rushing 5 or 6 to get more pressure, all they want to do is rush 3, because if they're not getting any pressure with 4, they can get no pressure with 3. This brings an extra guy into the coverage. That time, Iowa still picked up the first down, but look for Illinois to have a little better pass coverage because of that.
Judging from the body language of Matt Sherman when he's gone back to pass, there have been a lot of people open. Once in a while, get somebody open, but not often. Sedrick Shaw got what he could to the midfield marker. Cyron Brown arrived on the scene for Illinois. Pickup of 2.
Chris Kosh, the defensive coordinator for Illinois, told us in order to stop Iowa's offense, number 1, you need to stop Dwight. He's their big play guy. But the other thing you really need to do is take away the cutback, because Iowa will run to the outside, and then Tavian Banks and Sedrick Shaw, they both try and cut it back against the grain. And with that acceleration, that's where they can get a lot of their big plays. So far, Illinois has done a good job of taking those cutback lanes away.
2nd down. Sherman calling the play at the line, resets his backfield. Sedrick Shaw. Dennis Stallings slowed him up, and then he got plenty of help from his friends. It's been a very active defensive front here today for Illinois. A gain of just a yard on that play. It looked like initially Sherman had checked off to the right play.
It looked like he was checking off to a deep play. They ran the draw, and I agree with you. If Sedrick Shaw gets through that initial wave of rushers, he's got plenty of room. But Stallings came through there basically untouched and did a nice job of wrapping him up until the rest of the pursuit got there.
Garrett Johnson shaken up on the play, and again, as we mentioned, he's had ankle and foot problems, lower leg injuries this season. And Garrett Johnson, the defensive tackle, the 3 technique tackle on the Illinois defensive line. 14-7, Illinois leading Iowa. We'll be back. Illinois leading by a touchdown, and it's time now to take a look at the GTE Academic All-America Team Member Spotlight as selected by the College Sports Information Directors of America. This week, GTE salutes Kevin Sullivan, a junior on the cross-country team at Michigan. And back to throw Matt Sherman under pressure on 3rd down, and he is hit and dropped back at the 45-yard line, a loss of 6 yards. Paul Marshall made the play along with Cyron Brown.
Wayne, we just talked about this. Illinois is only rushing 3. Look at all the time Sherman has. There just isn't anybody open. That's a coverage sack, and when you're dropping 8 and you still get the sack, your guys are doing a good job of covering the receivers.
Here's the punt by Nick Gallery. Good leverage into this kick. Fair catch signal made. The catch completed near the 14-yard line by Marcus Mosley, and Illinois will take over 1st and 10 at the Fighting Illini 14. First half action in Champaign, Illinois leading Iowa 14-7. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber in chilly Champaign. Homecoming weekend, homecoming number 86. This is where that tradition originated years ago. And Illinois leading its homecoming game by the score of 14-7 over Iowa. The Fighting Illini on a 1st and 10. Dulick in motion. Weaver rolling the other way. And Weaver is saved. Jared DeVries back back inside the 5 at the 4-yard line, a loss of 10.
When you try and run the bootleg, Wayne, your quarterback turns his back to the line of scrimmage here. Not a great fake. And as he turns around, you can see Ennis, number 9, doesn't let him get to the outside, keeps him in the pocket until DeVries comes through and delivers the blow. It's a big play by the Iowa defense that really hasn't made that many big plays. A lot coming into today's game, but really the first one that sticks out so far today.
2nd and 20. You got to expect a run here. Robert Holcomb gets what he can, maybe to the 5-yard line, a gain of 1. And that Iowa defense has some life. 3rd and long coming up for Illinois. Mike Gleason, traditional rivals meeting in the Big 12. Tell us about it. And Nebraska, 27-game winning streak against conference opponents. Of course, that dates back to the Big 8 the last few years. 3rd down for Illinois. 3rd and a bunch. Weaver under immediate pressure. Holcomb, fortunate that he dropped it, because otherwise Bill Ennis might have had him for a safety.
I thought as the ball was thrown, Ennis had a chance to intercept that ball, but as you said, fortunate that he dropped it, not to risk the safety. Scott Weaver, you see your guy covered there, you just have to throw the ball away. He was under duress from the pass rush, but you also have to be aware when you're throwing to the outside like that, what defenders are around there, sail that ball out of bounds. Illinois now punting into the wind. Iowa looks to get excellent field position.
Jason Higgins near the back line of his end zone. Gets off kind of a line drive kick. Demo Odoms from the 44. Penalty marker down. Odoms fumbled, and it's recovered by Illinois, but the officials whistled the play dead where Odoms went down near the 39-yard line. So the fumble is not a factor here, but there are flags down to the play.
You know, Wayne, there are 2 flags down, and I think they're for separate illegal blocks. One of them happened around the 35-yard line. One looked like it happened around the 42-yard line. If it is indeed 2 separate ones, take the one on the 42, because that's from the spot of the foul.
Well, it is an illegal block, and it is against Iowa, obviously. And this will take them out of what would have been excellent field position.
Think of the first one, looks right there on Dulick.
Oftentimes when you see a flag thrown like that, do you see the other one there?
There was the other one on Gunther, number 41 for Illinois. So I think it was 2 separate flags. Taking the one that happened at the 41-yard line moves it back now into Iowa territory.
Well, exactly. Instead of getting the ball just inside the 40, the Hawkeyes, and you look, they're much improved in the penalty department this year. The Hawkeyes, instead of having it inside the Illinois 40, just inside the Illinois 40, have it back to their own territory just beyond their 49. Still good field position to start a drive. Sedrick Shaw hesitated for a moment and makes a good run to the 45, a gain of about 6 yards. Mike Gleason, Michigan, and Michigan State. Talk about traditional rivals. They are underway. What do you have?
From the Illinois 45-yard line.
Well, Michigan State won last year, and they made a Christmas card out of the scoreboard.
That's right.
I think the Wolverines got a hold of those scoreboards. 2nd down for Iowa. Here's Sedrick Shaw. Gets a good block from Berger off the left flank, and Shaw down the sidelines for a first down to the 32-yard line. Pickup of 13 yards to a first down. Steve Willis forced him out of bounds.
Take a look at the center here, Wayne, number 63. He snaps the ball, he pulls out, gets in front of Shaw, doesn't block anybody until he gets right there on number 19, Willis, and then just keeps pushing him back. Willis never lays a hand on Shaw. What a nice job by Reardon. You get a center that can pull and get out there in front of Sedrick Shaw, he's got some speed.
Well, that's one thing that Don Patterson was talking about, the Iowa offensive coordinator. They have very good quickness in the interior people in their line, do the Hawkeyes. First down. Iowa on the drive. Shaw with a wall of blocking. Fumble the football. It's up for grabs, and Sherman gets it back near the 35-yard line. I'll tell you what, Sedrick Shaw got splattered on the play, and the ball popped out about 5 yards back. And Matt Sherman was able to gather it in for Iowa. The net result on the play, a loss of 3.
Take a look at this. When the ball gets knocked back 20 yards, that goes in the caused fumble category. Watch the hit here. As he gets hit on the right side, swings his arm around, and then loses the ball and almost propels it backwards. Unfortunately for Illinois, it went so far there weren't any defenders around it.
Second down for Sherman. Going downfield, Tim Dwight. Knocked away at the last moment by Trevor Stargill near the 1-yard line. Well-timed leap by the junior from Youngstown, Ohio.
Take a look at the leap. He goes up. You see Dwight having to slow down and wait for the ball to get there, and that allowed Stargill a chance to get over and knock it down. You're better off as a receiver if you always keep the ball in front of you. Then you keep your body between the defender and the ball. The only way Stargill makes that play is to cause interference. So some of that blame goes to Dwight for slowing down and trying to reach back for the ball. Great play, though, by Stargill.
Third down and 13. Sherman, a little pump fake, now sets up a screen. Tavian Banks. Banks gets a couple of blocks. And Tavian Banks to the 20-yard line of the first down. On a gain of 15 yards. Well-executed screenplay by the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Tavian was firing anything but blanks on that play.
Well, you have to be impressed here in this first half with the way the Iowa offensive line gets out in front of their backs and picks up blocks. They set it up, they throw, which means they go at the defender's legs, and they take those guys off their feet, and then they let Banks pick the hole. They've done a very nice job of that so far.
First downs are even. Iowa, the most active, I would say the most mobile offensive line we've seen in the conference this season. First down to the Illinois 20. Banks made a spin move to get inside of Ramil Connor, number 95. He was the principal defender, and every time we talk to Lou Tepper, he mentions this redshirt freshman from Oak Park, Illinois. Ramil Connor will be one of the next great defenders in Illinois football history.
He is so high on him, and he said that's some of the reason why Illinois has struggled against the run this year. Ramil Connor he just doesn't have the experience to be a great player, and Garrett Johnson has been banged up. So they are weak on both corners for different reasons.
Second down. It's 6 yards to go. Knipper in motion. Tavian Banks. Upended inside the 15 by Steve Willis near the 13-yard line. Gain of 3. Third down coming up.
What a luxury it is for Iowa's offense to have a Sedrick Shaw, and when you need to give him a rest, you put in Tavian Banks. These guys have become almost interchangeable. Shaw's got 104 carries, Banks 98. They're within 1 yard of having the same amount of rushing yards, and I don't see much of a difference when one goes in and the other comes out.
Not much of a drop-off, if any. Third down for Iowa. And the Hawkeyes need to talk it over again as the play clock was winding down. Sherman, who calls a lot of his plays at the line, especially on third down situations, Randy, he's going to need a little more time on that play clock to get it done. And if he's looking at the clock 7 seconds ago and he may want to be checking out of a play, I imagine at that point he decides, I don't have enough time to change this play. I don't want to run the play I've got called. Better take a timeout.
Absolutely. They give him free rein to do whatever he thinks is best. Iowa, Wayne, much like some teams will audible to get out of a bad play. Iowa will audible not only to get out of a bad play, but because they want to go for the big play. They may have a good play, but when they read the defense, wow, we can get a better play if we change it. So they'll go ahead and audible it to a better play. A lot of teams will just say, don't audible unless it's a bad play. But Iowa, and that's one reason why they have so many big plays, is they put themselves in that position to take advantage of what the defense gives them.
Coming up at halftime, scores and highlights. Michigan State and Michigan underway. Minnesota, Ohio State, and a feature on Iowa punt return specialist Tim Dwight. All coming up with Mike Leeson halftime here this afternoon. It is a gray overcast day. We had a bright sunshiny morning here. It's been cold all day. Temperature in the mid-40s. And with that wind and the wind chill factor we mentioned to you earlier, temperature around 8 degrees wind chill factor. Third down for Iowa. Sherman 9 of 12, 71 yards. Knipper in motion. Tavian Banks tried to follow the block straight ahead of Ross Verba, and Banks very close to the first down at the 9-yard line of Illinois. From where they've got it spotted, though, Randy, I think he's a half-yard short.
I was going to say, if the marker is accurate, the red arrow they put down, it looks a little short. Not by much, but just a little bit.
So the officials will take the time to bring the chains from across the way.
Sometimes the officials just throw that red marker down and it's not completely accurate, and that's why they have the chains here. And as we see, looks like it is going to be a first down.
So the stripe on the far side was not accurate. Wow, what a surprise.
It will be first and goal.
Oh, my goodness.
Ball of the Illinois.
Well, last week, Illinois' defense, although they gave up a lot of yards and the key touchdown at the end of the game to Northwestern, this is where they really played well. They held Northwestern out of the end zone a couple of times when Northwestern had first down inside the 10-yard line. They need that same kind of performance right here.
Iowa first and goal, just outside the 9-yard line of the Hawkeyes, or I should say of the Illini. Banks. And again, Illinois doing a good job at what Chris Kosh told us they had to do. One of his 5 key points in containing Iowa, take away the cutback lane, and they did. Garrett Johnson and Dennis Stallings team up on the stop.
With only 55 seconds to go in the first half, remember, Iowa's already used 2 timeouts. They can't get a first down. They may be forced to throw on one of these next 2 downs, even though that may not be what they want to do.
Iowa in the red zone. 17 touchdowns in 25 trips. Sherman looks to the air. Sherman makes a play. Touchdown, Gibson. Well, I'll tell you what, you can't ask your defense to cover much longer than that. Sherman bought just enough time and found Dennis Gibson deep in the corner of the end zone.
Oh, that's a very good point. Sherman bought the time scrambling around. He doesn't have much pressure to start with, but as he scrambles out, he's got active receivers. You see, they follow him as he goes. Gibson came all the way from the other side of the field, got behind the defense, and then Sherman did a nice job of picking him out and throwing a nice ball.
Damon Gibson with his first touchdown reception of the season. The Hawkeyes an extra point away from tying this game. And it is good. So the Iowa Hawkeyes have fought back, and as we near halftime in Champaign, Iowa has pulled into a 14-all tie with Illinois.
Once again, Sherman wants to go to the left. When it's not open right away, now he realizes he's going to run out of time, so he scrambles out of there. Connor came close to him, but as you see right there, Gibson came all the way across the field, got behind the defense, and watched the ball right into his hand. Good job by Sherman to be aware of where all of his receivers were on the field.
Well, you know, Illinois leads this series between these two schools, 35-21-2, including a 3-0 in the last 3 years. Hayden Fry talked about playing Illinois.
A bunch of guys are now playing the NFL, namely Simeon Rice and Hardy, people like that, and some down linemen. Washington and Patton were great defensive backs for them, and we haven't played that well against Illinois the last couple of years.
Illinois has had good players, and Iowa hasn't had its best games against Illinois. And that has combined to make for a 122-17 score over the previous 3 years in this series in favor of Illinois. And it's also interesting that the team that has won this game in the last 3 years has not gone to a bowl game.
That's a good point.
The loser has gone. So we'll see.
Figure that one out.
Yeah, figure that. What kind of sense does that make? We'll see what happens here today, but we're tied at 14 as we near halftime. Ryan Hurley's kickoff is high and deep and through the end zone. It'll be first down for Illinois at the 20-yard line. The Illini have 2 timeouts remaining and 30 seconds with which to work. It has been a most interesting first half.
And one of the things, if you're Illinois, Wayne, I really feel they've got to be happy with the way the defense has played for the most part. They've given up 14 points, but they don't have an offense that's going to come from 15, 20 points behind. Other than the long run by Sedrick Shaw, they've taken away the big play from Iowa. They've made them march the length of the field, or at least the majority of it, to get their touchdown, so they've kept the game close. That's the kind of game Illinois' offense needs.
Illinois is going to try to work off the final 30 seconds. They are content to go to the locker room at a 14-all tie with the Iowa Hawkeyes. So as we reach halftime on this homecoming weekend in Champaign, Hayden Fry and the 5-2 Iowa Hawkeyes are tied with Lou Tepper and the 2-5 Fighting Illini of Illinois at 14 apiece. Interesting first half, a little fumble-rooski play, scored a touchdown for the Illini in this first half. Iowa has been steady offensively. Here today, we haven't seen the deep explosions in their offense that you're normally conditioned to see. Rather, it's been Illinois that has gone for the unusual and pulled out the stops.
And you haven't seen a lot of mistakes on Illinois' offense. That's what they were doing earlier in the year, shortening the field for the other team. Illinois has done a nice job of protecting the ball, and even on defense, they've come close to creating some of those turnovers.
Suffice to say that Illinois has gained some momentum from that game last week at Evanston. Let's get on to Jim Barber.
Thank you, Wayne. First of all, Lou, the discussion with the official most recently, what was that about?
Oh, no, there was a clip we felt on one of their longer plays, and I think they just missed it. And we also thought there was a fumble earlier that they thought the ground caused. But that's not going to stop us from winning.
How about the trick play that went for the touchdown?
It's something we've carried every week, and we just felt that was a proper configuration to run it against.
And it worked. Thank you. Okay. Lou Tepper with the game tied at halftime at 14-14. Right now to the Big Ten studios and the rest of college football, Mike Gleason.
The University of Iowa, the nation's first state university to admit women on an equal basis with men. A unique writing program which for 6 decades has fostered Pulitzer Prize winners. A pioneer in space exploration. A center for the arts attracting world-renowned performers. One of the nation's largest university-owned teaching hospitals, paving the way to breakthroughs in the understanding of human health. The University of Iowa, a tradition of innovation.
Once again, we've got a pretty good football game going on the Big Ten Network. Champaign, Illinois. Iowa's 5-2, Illinois 2-5, and they are deadlocked at 14-14 at halftime. And welcome back to the Big Ten studios. You know, a week ago, second-ranked Ohio State opened a 38-6 lead over Iowa in Iowa City. That's usually enough to allow you to fall into some type of comfort zone. But as Rod Mackey says, usually, but not if you're playing against a guy by the name of Tim Dwight.
He's like Superman. He's all heart, and as I've said so many times, he's the greatest competitor I've had in 45 years of coaching.
Anytime he gets the ball, I know the fans and everybody on the sidelines just starts jumping around. You know he's going to do something with it, you know, and he does. And he's an exceptional athlete, and I'm privileged to be on the same team with him.
Tim's talent is not really what separates him from others, it's his drive. To the Iowa juniors, statistics don't mean a thing. For Tim Dwight, it's all about winning.
A lot of people are impressed by your second half performance, but I'll bet you could give a darn.
Yeah, I don't really care right now. I just wish I could, you know, everything else that happened, I wish I could trade it for the win.
What happened? Dwight racked up 131 return yards and a touchdown to earn the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week. And in the process broke Niall Kinnick's record for the most return yards in one season, a record that had stood for 59 years.
Well, I mean, that's a nice thing, but a lot of credit goes to the guys up front. I mean, I couldn't do without them. You know, I'm one guy, and there's 10 other guys out there with Rob Tyne, and I tell them every day in practice, give me a chance and we can do it.
Success is nothing new to Dwight. In fact, back in high school, he scored 80 touchdowns for Iowa City High.
Tim Dwight is a role model for every young athlete in the country as far as I'm concerned.
And then there's track. TD won 12 high school state titles for the Little Hawks, including 4 200-meter championships. Dwight's excelled at everything he's done, and Hawkeye fans are glad he chose to do it in Iowa City. I'm Rod Mackey reporting.
You're watching Creative Sports, the Big Ten Game of the Week, Champaign, Illinois. That's our site this week, and there's the score, 14-14 at the half. And welcome back to the Big Ten studios. It's time right now for our campus spotlight, and today it shines on the University of Iowa. We take a step back in time and reflect on one of those years when everything was perfect for the Hawkeye fans.
March 24th, 1956, the game for the national championship in college basketball pitted the University of Iowa Hawkeyes against the University of San Francisco Dons and their 6-foot 10-inch center, Bill Russell. The Hawkeyes were defeated 83-71. But one of the finest college basketball teams in Iowa history was Bucky O'Connor's fabulous five: Logan, Kane, Seaberg, Schaff, and Sherman. The new semester brought with it another new group of young minds the faculty would inspire and challenge. The modern breed of students brought with them a unique culture. Rock and roll music was shunned by many, but others found it a sound hard to ignore. However, the biggest sound on campus was from the roar of the crowd at the Iowa Stadium. The football team was in its element and primed for victory. The 1956 schedule was a dream, with 6 games on the Hawks' own turf. By season's end, the football team was going to play in the Rose Bowl for the first time in the history of the university. New Year's Day, 1957, Iowa met Oregon State. Early in the first quarter, Oregon State turned the ball over after a vicious hit by Alex Karras. In just 5 plays, the Hawks had scored. Oregon State fought back with a 66-yard scramble down the field, but Iowa's defense with Karras and Succi held firm. The Hawkeye offense with Kenny Payne and Randy Duncan rallied, and at the final gun, the Iowa Hawkeyes had won the Rose Bowl 35-19. But another ball was hurtling through space in the fall of 1957. Circling the Earth's atmosphere was a 184-pound sphere equipped with a radio transmitter. Sputnik, although a great technological feat, carried no scientific instruments on board other than a tracking device. But when Sputnik went into orbit, everything changed. The U.S. government and military combined resources to get a satellite off the launch pad. Within days, Professor James Van Allen, head of the university's physics department, and his team were called on. Because of his experiences with previous rocket experiments, Van Allen was chosen to fit the miniature space capsule with test equipment. On January 31st, 1958, the Army's Jupiter C rocket was ready for liftoff. In its nose cone was the Explorer satellite, and in the satellite were instruments designed at the University of Iowa.
A couple of updated scores. Tennessee now over South Carolina 21-7. Wisconsin over Purdue up in Camp Randall 24-0. And right now, let's send it back to Wayne and Randy. The second half of a 14-14 ball game with Iowa and Illinois.
Mike Gleason, we've seen some things in the first half you don't see often in a ball game, but Iowa and Illinois tied at 14 apiece. And let's take a look at some of the highlights of the first half. It really began in the tone with
they've come at key times to be able to sustain some drives and get some first downs.
Needless to say, we mentioned very early this morning about this ball game and that how much would either one of these two teams have. We talked about it late in the first half. It appears that the loss at Northwestern has not dampened the spirits of Lou Tepper's Fighting Illini of Illinois. They've come out here and they've played very well in this ball game so far. Meanwhile, Iowa did invest a lot in their game with Ohio State as well. They have struggled at times. They have not been the big play unit that we've seen under Hayden Fry. But let's go to the sidelines and Jim Barber.
Tendencies of what they've been playing in the past. They changed up for us, and our kids did a good job reading it.
What did you talk about at the break?
Well, the main thing, every time they line up for a punt or a field goal, we got to make sure they don't fake it on us. That was pretty obvious down there, and we try to make adjustments on the things that they've been moving the ball with.
All right, Hayden, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hayden Fry, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Back to you, Wayne.
Matt Hughes, one of the leaders of that defense, a sophomore for the Iowa Hawkeyes, their leading tackler coming into today's game. Iowa is well known for, we talked about their big play capability, but they're well known for making adjustments going into the second half of their ball games, and especially in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about that later on, but normally Iowa makes excellent adjustments, and it's allowed them to come from behind in 4 of their 5 wins this season.
And Wayne, a lot of people think when you make adjustments, you make them defensively. What do we have to do to take away what the other team is doing offensively? Iowa makes just as many successful adjustments on offense. They come up with new ways. They see what the other team is doing. They actually implement things at halftime to make some big plays, and that's one reason why their defense is so much better, because their offense is better.
Brett Schuplein's kickoff starts the second half. It's high and short, and Damien Robinson makes a fair catch signal and the catch at the 27-yard line. Again, a very stiff 15 to 20 mile an hour wind that he was kicking into. Brett Schuplein, who has a very strong leg on most occasions that we've seen him kick, but here today that wind is a huge factor in this ball game. The other factor, and I want to get down to Jim Barber in a few minutes on this, but if you look at the Iowa first half leaders, not a bad half at all for Matt Sherman from a statistical standpoint, but the weather conditions down on the field, from what we've heard from people at halftime, considerably worse than they look. That wind is pretty stiff right now, and it's having an effect on the play here today. First down, Iowa operates with a wind to its back. From the 27. Sedrick Shaw. Shaw with a good move off the right side of the offense, gets about 2 or 3 yards. Fine pursuit by the Illinois defense on that play. Dennis Stallings led the way. Leading tackler for Illinois coming into today's game. Stallings with 88 hits, 50 solo.
Iowa starting this half the way they started the game, spreading the Illinois defense, 3 wideouts, only 1 back, and Matt Sherman just with a check with me. Which side do I want to run the sweep to, left side or right side? Whichever side looks as though it's a little softer, then he turns and pitches the ball and lets Sedrick Shaw pick his way.
That's Damon Gibson at the top of your screen, Tim Dwight on the bottom. 2nd and 8, Iowa. Knipper, the tight end, in motion, and they go to the motion side. Sedrick Shaw, penalty marker down. Shaw into the clear. Shaw trying to cut it back, still on his feet, and down he goes near the 40-yard line. Penalty marker down all the way back on the 33-yard line of Iowa. Danny Clark made the tackle downfield on the running back. They're going to call this one back.
Did you see that hole? I don't know if it was a holding as it is, as our referee there just showed us. Look at the size of this hole that Sedrick Shaw has to run through.
There's the hold. It was on Garrett Johnson.
You see that hole. Toriano Woods, number 3, came up to stop the run, got out of position, and when Sedrick Shaw went to the outside, there was no safety support there.
It looked like Matt Reichel just tackled Garrett Johnson. And that's the big reason for a big hole. Sure did open up the hole, didn't it? I'll tell you. Well, the penalty moves it back to the Iowa 18, or make that 23-yard line, where it'll be 2nd down. And it measures out to be about 14 yards to go. Opening couple of minutes, 3rd quarter, in a 14 all tie. Demo Odoms at the bottom of your screen at wide receiver. Sedrick Shaw trying to bounce it to the outside. Danny Clark held his position at outside linebacker, and Shaw gets a yard. to the 24-yard line, where it'll be a third down for Iowa.
A little surprise call there by Iowa with the wind on a 2nd and long, going to a running play. Here you see some penetration by the Illini defense. I think it's David James, number 42, that gets into the backfield right there. Though he misses the tackle, Danny Clark, as you said, Wayne, stays at home, and then he closes in on Shaw. Good play by a play that I think probably caught Illinois' defense unsuspecting, but yet they delivered and came up with the tackle.
3-man line for Illinois. Third down for Iowa. Next, Sherman, lots of time. Sherman brought down short of the first down. He's out to the 30-yard line on a gain of about 6 yards. Fourth down for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And again, Cyron Brown, make that Dennis Stallings and Cyron Brown on the stop. Illinois' strategy is to cover rather than rush, it seems like, in the very simplest of terms.
I agree with you. And so far, for the most part, it has worked because we've seen times where Sherman has been back there. He hasn't had an open receiver, but he's had plenty of time, and then he's wound up running with the ball. On 3rd and 14, that plays right into what Illinois wants.
Dennis Stallings a little bit shaken up after making the tackle. Marcus Mosley averaging over 10 yards per punt return back deep. Nick Gallery gets the snap. This should be a returnable punt. Mosley out across the 30, and Illinois will start near its 33-yard line with a 1st and 10. Chris Knepper made the tackle for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Early going in this 3rd quarter. Illinois offense coming onto the field for the first time in the 2nd half. Jim Barber?
It's cold down here, Wayne, as you mentioned, and the killer conditions you brought up too. Brett Schuplein, the kicker for Illinois, addressed that fact, saying the cold weather deadens the football. It's been harder for him to kick. Also the fact kicking into the stiff wind has really immobilized his game. He saw it in practice. He couldn't get it past the 10-yard line. He knew it was going to be tough, Wayne.
And that's why in those kickoffs into the wind, they've gone for height rather than distance. Holcomb trying to escape to the outside of the Iowa Hawkeye defense, strung it out very well. Matt Chambers out in front of the play. Aaron Klein pursuing from his interior tackle position. Team up on the stop for Iowa, and it's a loss of 2 yards back near the 31.
We talked about Iowa's defense liking to shift right before the play. Take a look at the defensive linemen moving. You saw just the end of it there. They shifted right to the side that Illinois was trying to run to, and it took away the blocking angles that the Illini had.
2nd down and about 12 for Illinois. Weaver to the air. Pass may have been tipped in the line. Intended for Ty Douthard. And it's a 3rd down coming up. Mike Gleason, Nebraska, Oklahoma doing battle. Give us an update. Always play for the Big Ten championship and or should say the Big 8 championship and a trip to the Rose Bowl. Not anymore. 3rd down and long. Weaver with a quick toss off the hands of Mosley. What appeared to be a somewhat dangerous play in traffic. And it's 4th down, Illinois.
Illinois, before, that was the play they ran for the touchdown to Dulick. This time they guessed wrong. Iowa was in a zone defense, and although the lineman came through with some severe pressure, there was no opening to get the ball to Mosley, and the ball sailed high.
Higgins has his work cut out for him, kicking into a 20-mile-an-hour wind. Tim Dwight leads the nation in punt returning, better than 23 yards per return. Line drive kick, and it is Tim Dwight facing a wall of defenders. Look at this, a little Houdini act just to get back to the 40-yard line. And it'll be 1st down for the Iowa Hawkeyes at their 40. 2nd offensive possession of the 2nd half for Iowa coming up. I wonder if they'll take a picture of the scoreboard at Michigan this year and make a Christmas card out of it, like the Spartans did last year. Oh, my. The twists and turns of rivalries in college football. Hayden Fry looking over the play card. His Hawkeyes 1st down. Football is at the 39-yard line. A fake on the pitch. Sherman comes up firing to Tim Dwight, and an excellent open field tackle made by Danny Clark at the 45-yard line, a gain of 6.
Number 48, Danny Clark.
This play was designed to go deep. Dwight is actually the second receiver. When it wasn't open deep, Sherman comes off of him and throws here. You mentioned the outstanding tackle by Danny Clark. You know, he was recruited as a free safety. So even though he's playing linebacker right now as a redshirt freshman, he's used to making those kind of tackles in the open field.
Well, look at Tim Dwight, very dangerous receiver return man for Iowa. 2nd and 4. Running reverse to Sedrick Shaw. The Illini stay home, and the play, a -3. Back to the 42-yard line. Dennis Stallings was there. And I'll tell you, they had more than one guy in on that stop. Marshall was also in on that tackle.
But you can see the entire front for Illinois read that play very well. Brown did a nice job, number 99, staying at home and forcing it back to the inside. Right there, the handoff almost didn't happen, but Brown, number 99, does a good job staying at home, forcing it back in there to Dennis Stallings and company.
Garrett Johnson again at the root of the problem as far as Iowa is concerned. Dennis Stallings having a good day today. 3rd down for Iowa. Sherman, a deep drop. Sherman lets it go behind Sedrick Shaw, and he got it away incomplete.
I would be surprised, Wayne, if there's not a flag for an illegal lineman downfield. When you have a screen called and you run around like that as a quarterback and then you throw the ball, to see if that's what this call is going to be.
Yep, ineligible receiver downfield.
What a nice job by Eric Gunther, number 41 for Illinois, reading that screen right away and coming up and taking the back away from Sherman and giving Sherman no place else to go.
I'm sure Illinois will turn this down, won't they?
I would think so.
They're going to get the ball back. It would be 4th down. The officials conferring. There's Paul Marshall, who's the senior co-captain on the defensive line, the nose tackle out of Naperville, Illinois. One of the steadiest defensive linemen Illinois has.
There are multiple fouls against the offense. Ineligible receiver, downfield, offensive pass interference.
Well, there's the reason for the discussion and the thought process is there are a couple of different options to consider for Illinois.
And now they head to the near sidelines to talk with Lou Tepper. It has been a tough season for Coach Tepper. We mentioned how Illinois began its season, getting waxed in its first 3 games, then won 2 mid-season games, including a historic overtime victory over Indiana here. Played perhaps their worst. Illinois played perhaps its worst game on the road at Michigan State. Came back with a good effort last week and are playing well here today. And Iowa forced into punt formation on 4th down. Marcus Mosley back deep. Nick Gallery has been busy today. The wind to his back, it's end over end. Mosley, it's a high hop back to the 5. Mosley dodges one defender, but is brought down to the 10-yard line. Illinois will start from there in its own territory, tied at 14. Today's game is brought to you by GTE, official telecommunications consultant to the Big Ten Conference. Illinois starts 1st down at its 10-yard line. We are tied at 14 apiece, 9:46 to go in this 3rd period. Robert Holcomb. Vernon Rollins makes the stop for Iowa. Pickup of yardage out to the 15, gain of about 5, 2nd and 5 coming up. Holcomb has proven to be a very patient runner in waiting for his blocking here today, and more often than not, that's paid off in a gain of 3 to 4, maybe 5 yards.
And I think, Wayne, that has come with the experience that he's got. He's the featured back in this offense. He's patient, but he's got such acceleration that when he decides to go, it doesn't take him long to get through that hole.
2nd and 5. Douthard for short yardage. A couple of yards to the 17, 3rd down. And 3 yards to go coming up. And again, the mid portion of the Iowa defense. Hughes in the middle of the pile, along with Jared DeVries.
This offense, they don't use Ty Douthard a lot, but when they do, generally it's pretty effective. Most of the time, though, it's in the passing game. Of the times we've seen him carry the ball today, it's all been on that play. Just a quick-hitting little belly play right up between the guards.
Dulick, normally the feature receiver, the top of your screen right there. Jason Dulick for the first down at the 33-yard line. So Jason Dulick on the reception. It's a first down for Illinois. 16-yard gain.
Boy, on a key third down, what a big play this was by the senior Dulick. At 6'5", he's already got a lot of size to be able to go up. But look at him stretch and reach for that and pull that ball down to keep this drive going.
Senior flanker out of St. Louis, Missouri. He was Steve Schnurr's favorite receiver in high school at St. Louis University High. First down from the 33. The pitch, Holcomb. That time he delivered a blow to Damien Robinson, but coughed up the football, and the Hawkeyes have it. Damien Robinson delivered a hit. So did Holcomb. The ball popped loose, and Robinson got it for Iowa at the 40-yard line of Illinois.
The first turnover for Illinois today. When you've got Damien Robinson and Robert Holcomb running full speed, there's going to be a heck of a collision. And here, a nice job of blocking by Dothard right there, number 7, leading the way. And watch Robinson come up and lay the hit right on the right shoulder and the helmet, and Holcomb just went down and lost the ball.
Damien Robinson gathered it in. It's a first down to the 40-yard line. So Iowa off an Illinois turnover. An opportunity with the wind to its back. At 8:20 to go in the third period, a chance to score. Damien Robinson, he's been hitting everything that moves these last few weeks. The fake to Sedrick Shaw. They run the big fullback. Aaron Granquist, the senior out of Osage, Iowa. Former walk-on, gets yardage inside the 35. There is a flag down on the play.
And Woods 3.
It's against Iowa. Preliminary indication against the Hawkeyes. Illegal motion.
Illegal motion on the offense. 5 yards. Repeat. First down.
You know that Jim Barber, Randy, always has his eyes wide open to see whatever there is to see, especially at a homecoming like this.
You know, Wayne, it's a thankless job, but somebody's got to do it. That somebody happens to be me, Carrie Anderson, homecoming queen for Illinois for 1996. Congratulations, and you can kind of capture the mood for us and the feeling of this weekend in a few words. What would it be like?
Well, I would have to say it's very exciting, especially to represent the University of Illinois, where homecoming actually began.
And you know, Wayne, she's putting up with the cold here, but putting up with it rather nicely.
And so are you, Jim. So are you. How about Sedrick Shaw? First down for the Iowa Hawkeyes on a 17-yard gain. Danny Clark made the tackle.
Wayne, Hayden Fry told us that Sedrick Shaw wasn't 100%, but he was better. And we saw him on that first drive and questioned whether he was hurt at all. And here, he just makes an excellent athletic play. There's a nice hold. He comes through it untouched. Watch him just hurdle number 20, Stargell, right there. And then when Danny Clark delivers the hit, he still continues to fall forward. What a nice, strong run.
First down at the 28-yard line. Illinois was coming on a blitz, and the Hawkeyes essentially ran right into that blitz and get maybe a yard. To Mike Gleason for Michigan and Michigan State.
Being over Michigan State.
Cedric Irvin has won 5 freshmen back, isn't he?
He's very mature for the situation. As young as he is, he's a true freshman. He's been put into a situation where he has really had to carry the load, and when Todd Schultz got hurt, it was all on his shoulders. Now that Schultz has come back, it's not as much, but he has really responded and played very well.
Second down, it's just about 10 yards to go for the Hawkeyes. Matt Sherman. Oh, he waited nicely for Sedrick Shaw to pop open underneath the coverage of Danny Clark, and Shaw out of bounds at the 21-yard line. It is a third down coming up.
It was very perceptive what you said there, Wayne. He waited for Shaw to clear the linebackers so that he could throw the ball over there and at least pick up a third and short here.
Gain of 7, and take a look at the youth movement on this Big Ten leaderboard. The only senior of the bunch is from Michigan State.
And he would be the next one. He'd be number 10 right under Clarence Williams. The top 9 rushers in the Big Ten, none of them are seniors.
Isn't that something? Third down at about 3.5 yards to go. Timeout taken by the Hawkeyes. Matt Sherman had 1 second to go on the play clock. So it'll be 3rd and 3 when we resume. The ball at the 21-yard line of Illinois. The Hawkeyes and the Illini are deadlocked at 14 apiece as we get just beyond the halfway point in this 3rd quarter on a cold, windy day in Champaign. Thank you, Mike. Right here, 14 apiece. We're tied as these two interstate rivals get together. Iowa and Illinois. This has been a good rivalry. It's really an intense rivalry, or it was, I should say, about 5-6 years ago on the basketball floor. That's where it really picked up some steam.
And as both these programs on the football field have elevated themselves to a lot of success, it becomes a bigger rivalry as well.
Iowa, big edge in yardage. It looked like a contact made by Garrett Johnson as he jumped off sides. I'm not sure if movement by the offense precipitated that move.
Dead ball. False start on the offense.
That was the case.
3rd down.
Take a look at the right guard there. Just flinches a little bit, and that draws Garrett Johnson off. As well, Wayne, we showed earlier how well Iowa had done this year with penalties versus last year. But here in this 3rd quarter, they've had 3 or 4 of them that have really hurt themselves.
Really stalled their drives. Now, again, they have the wind to their back. So if you're thinking field goal, but the Hawkeyes are thinking 1st down. They are facing a 3rd down and 8. Football to the 26 of Illinois. Deep drop for Sherman. Sherman on his own. Gets down to the 21-yard line and absorbed quite a hit. It is 4th down for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Boy, he took a shot that time.
Gets up a little slowly, but he finally gets up. This is a nice job by Illinois' defense to force him to step up. And watch the shot right there by Danny Clark, number 48. He comes, very clean hit, just really delivers that blow.
Cyron Brown also in on that tackle, got up rather gimpy-legged. And Iowa facing 4th down and about 3 yards to go.
Last couple of plays, and when Robert Holcomb had the fumble, we're seeing some real hitting going on down on the field.
Zach Bromert for a field goal try of 37 yards. With the wind to his back, he has it through the uprights. It is good. So the Iowa Hawkeyes score the first points of the 2nd half, and Hayden Fry and company now have a 17-14 lead over Illinois.
But Wayne, one of the points you alluded to just a few minutes ago, Iowa's got the wind at their back, yet those are the only points they have scored in this 3rd quarter. And with 5:44 to go and Illinois getting the ball, I'm sure Hayden Fry's disappointed with the wind. He hadn't been able to get more production.
Dennis Stallings, who has had a fine ball game here today. He's been in on 11 tackles now. The Iowa scoring drive went 19 yards in 5 plays to the field goal and the lead. And Iowa, as we mentioned, has done an outstanding job of generally making adjustments in the 2nd half. And they have outscored their opponents 99-57 in the 2nd half of their games this season. And you could add 3 more points to that 99 total. 5:44 to go. We are 3rd period in Champaign on a cold, windy day. Illinois will have the wind to its back offensively when we get to the 4th quarter. Right now, Brian Hurley kicking it away. Twin safeties back deep for Illinois. Will Smith on the near side. George McDonald Ashford on the far side. Kickoff, hooks toward the far side. McDonald Ashford at the 5. McDonald Ashford to the 10, or should say to the 20, to the 25-30, and he's out across the 30 near the 33-yard line. So it'll be a 1st down, and the tackle made by Ed Gibson and Chris Miller.
Illinois' offense has not had good field position this 2nd half. This is maybe their best field position to start.
For McDonald Ashford.
Well, we'll see what Scott Weaver can do. Only 3 points in this 3rd quarter after the 2 teams combined for 28 points in the 1st half. 1st down, Illinois. The Illini 33. Holcomb driving the pile forward into Hawkeye territory to the 49-yard line. 17-yard gain. Damien Robinson met him at about the 43.
Well, Robert Holcomb is one they say gets better as the game goes on, and with that kind of effort, you see him keeping his legs going, and that kind of effort fires up your whole team. The offense hadn't had much going here in the second half. That kind of run gets everybody else going. It elevates them up to that level of performance.
Out of the I formation on first down. Holcomb again. Punishing runner to the 45-yard line, a gain of 4 yards. Boy, I tell you, when you tackle Robert Holcomb in the second half of a ball game, you feel it. As the tackler, you feel that someone delivered a blow. Vernon Rollins on the stop for Iowa. That time gets up a little slow.
When Holcomb came into this game with 759 yards, he carries the ball roughly 25 times a game. When he's picking up another 2 and 3 yards after first contact, that's a lot of yards through the course of a game.
Up to 86 yards already. Why not? Got the hot hand, Robert Holcomb. This time the Hawkeyes were ready. And a posse met him at the line of scrimmage at the 45, where it'll be 3rd down and 6 coming up for Illinois.
And we saw that last graphic with Robert Holcomb, that being his 19th carry right there. He came into today's game needing 32 carries to become the #1 attempts leader in rushing for Illinois, and he's only a junior.
We saw Sedrick Shaw get 70-plus yards in the first quarter of this ball game as Iowa drove into the wind. Illinois is driving into the wind here in the 3rd quarter, and Robert Holcomb is carrying the mail for them. 3rd down and 6, one would figure pass here. Weaver, the short drop. Threw it behind Jason Dulick, who was pretty well covered by Ples Atkins at the 40-yard line, and it's 4th down for Illinois.
Well, that would have been a key first down for Illinois to get, because had they made that, they could have continued their drive and taken more time off the clock. Now they're going to have to punt into the wind, and Iowa's going to have enough time to put together a drive if they choose to through the air to be able to use the wind for the rest of the 3rd quarter.
Jason Higgins. Tim Dwight signals fair catch. Makes the catch at the 11-yard line. To the Big Ten studios for a Big 12 update, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Mike? Thank you, Mike. 17-14, Iowa over Illinois. 3:38 left to go. Randy, I want to ask you, Jim Hart, the old Cardinal quarterback, once told me that when you've got a gusty wind behind you, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to throw the ball effectively with that wind behind you. And that sometimes the ball will take off a little bit too much of the wind.
The wind, you have to throw a spiral when you play with wind, because if the ball doesn't spiral, the wind will affect it much more.
Sedrick Shaw bouncing to the outside, got a good block from Berger. Willis on the pursuit, and he forced him out of bounds near the 18-yard line. Along with Randy Wright and Jim Barber, this is Wayne Larrivee from Champaign, Illinois, Memorial Stadium, Zupke Field, on the campus of the University of Illinois.
Going back to the point you were just making, as a quarterback, I would much rather throw in rain and poor conditions than I would wind. Wind is the worst thing if you're a quarterback.
2nd down and about 3 yards to go. Berger plows for the first down like a road grader. He gets 4 to the 23-yard line. Dennis Stallings on the tackle.
Well, they pick and choose, Iowa does, the opportunities they choose to give the ball to the fullback. Here, Berger comes through, catches Stallings flat-footed, and pushes them backwards enough for the first down.
Don't you like it when you catch that linebacker flat-footed, huh?
I always took on linebackers flat-footed.
I know you did, Randy.
That's why I'm in the box today, but
you took a lot of hits in your time, I might add, especially up there in Green Bay. You didn't have Brett Favre's protection or weapons in your day. First down, and the tailback, Sedrick Shaw. Randy, Sedrick Sedrick Shaw today looks much different than the runner I saw on film this week from the Ohio State game. Sedrick Shaw appears to have basically his whole game together today. Last week he seemed tentative, he seemed slower, he just wasn't 100% physically.
I agree with you. He's running with confidence. And Sedrick Shaw, like Robert Holcomb, is the kind of back that delivers the blow. They can't become elusive because they're hurt. They have to be physical.
Slot to the top of your screen on second down for Iowa. Second and about 4. And again, Sherman calling the play at the line. Shaw trying to escape to the outside. David James on an ankle grab made the stop. And Iowa facing a third down.
Big play by David James getting into the backfield and disrupting this play. This is the 4th or 5th time he has done this. He comes through, fights off the block, and again, he can bring down the back with an arm tackle, and you don't see that very much in the Big Ten, especially against the Sedrick Shaw.
Boy, James, Stallings, Danny Clark have all played big in this game here today for Illinois.
Especially this third quarter.
3rd and 4, Iowa. Sherman can't find anybody. Finally, he does. First down up across the 35-yard line. Demo Odoms came back for the pass under the coverage of Danny Clark. But again, you can't fault the coverage downfield.
No, it was good coverage downfield. And as you said, Demo Odoms comes back to the ball. Sherman, plenty of time, does a nice job of continuing to look downfield. But watch Odoms coming back to the ball here. Look, he's 15, 20, 25 yards downfield. But when he sees him, he's in trouble. He comes back, gets underneath Danny Clark, knowing he only needed 4 yards for the first down. Give a lot of credit that time to Odoms for knowing and being disciplined.
Well, the other points that the Illinois people were talking about, as you get a look at the first down numbers, deep drops by those Iowa quarterbacks, deep drops by the linebackers. Tavian Banks does very little business, maybe 3 yards at the most, out across the 40. We're seeing much deeper drops by the Iowa quarterbacks. Most teams, it seems like, Randy, in both pro and college football, go to the short 3 to 5 step drops more often than not. More often, especially on third down. Matt Sherman's taking a very deep 7-step drop. He's almost 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. By the other token, the patterns are deep enough downfield, as we've been told by Chris Kosh, that you've got to push your linebackers back a little farther.
If your linebackers don't drop another 4 to 5 yards, there's going to be too big a gap between the receiver and the linebacker. It's too easy a throw to get it over the linebacker's head.
Second down and 7. Play action again. Sherman going for it all. Deep down the middle. Tim Dwight is there. The pass underthrown. Intercepted by Trevor Stargill. First down, Illinois. That ball just didn't get there, Randy.
That's exactly right. It didn't get there. He was wide open for a long time, but you really have Trevor Stargill doing a nice job. Number 20, watch Stargill playing the ball the whole way. Look how open Dwight is. But see, he continues to run. He doesn't come back for the ball. Stargill played the ball the entire way and made the break on it at the right time.
That's the second time today we have seen Matt Sherman undershoot Tim Dwight in terms of the depth of pass.
Both times with the wind at his back.
Yes.
Not going into the wind.
Very surprising. There's Trevor Stargill.
His 3rd interception of the year. Illinois came in with only 6 interceptions on the year. A big one right there.
Illinois starts at its 6-yard line, trailing by 3, late going, final minute. And now some jumping. I think there was some illegal procedure on the right side of that Illinois line. It looked like Ryan Shaw may have moved prematurely.
Not a huge penalty with the ball at the 4.5-yard line. It's only going to mark it back.
Dead ball. False start on the offense. Half the distance. First down.
So as we head up toward the 4th quarter, Trevor Stargill's interception has held off the Hawkeyes, who lead by 3. And Illinois takes over now 1st and 15. Holcomb gets some running room, or some working room, I should say, out to the 11-yard line on a gain of about 8 yards. Damien Robinson on the stop as time winds down in this third period.
That was a play, Wayne, you knew was going to be a run. If they run the ball, the clock goes down and the third quarter expires. Now they've got the wind at their back. Knowing they were going to run, they still picked up 8 or 9 yards.
Well, the Fighting Illini of Illinois, trailing by 3, will have the wind to their back against the best fourth quarter defense in the Big Ten. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber, fourth quarter about to get underway. Iowa leading Illinois by 3. And now here's the Discus Student Athlete of the Game, brought to you by Discus Athletic Activewear. Discus Athletic salutes the superior performances of these student athletes, both on and off the field. Discus Athletic is proud to be associated with the outstanding versatility that makes these players unique. For Iowa, Matt Reichel, the sophomore offensive tackle. For Illinois, Tom Shaw, a sophomore offensive tackle as well. As we start the fourth quarter of play, Scott Weaver and the Fighting Illini of Illinois have a second down at the 11-yard line. It's second and about 5 yards to go. They trail by 3 and have the wind to their back. Robert Holcomb. Cooks got a piece of him and helps to bring him down at the 15-yard line, a yard short of the first down on a gain of 4.
Tackle made by
so third down for Illinois, and about a yard and a half to go to that first down. Chilly, windy day here in the 86th homecoming of the history of Illinois football.
Wayne, this is where you get Ty Dothard and Rodney Byrd in the backfield, 2 powerful blockers leading Robert Holcomb from the tailback position.
Holcomb, Damien Robinson met him first, but I believe Holcomb's leg drive got him the first down. Appeared he has the first down, and forward progress moves the chains in favor of Illinois. Just across their 16-yard line. To the sidelines, Jim Barber.
Wayne, this is Iowa's best quarter, the fourth quarter, having allowed only 3 points all season. Coaches say 2 reasons. Great conditioning during the offseason. Kids work very hard. And the win in the Sun Bowl. They apparently feel the momentum in El Paso, Texas has carried over to here. They worked hard in the offseason. Therefore, the fourth quarter has been theirs, at least to this point.
First down for Illinois. Weaver tripped. Gets it away to Ty Dothard, who dropped it. Boy, I don't know if Dothard heard the footsteps of Tom Knight, but pass hit him right in the hands.
Well, as a back, you know when you're open and when you're not. And Dothard knows on that play, you're only going to be open for so long. When he doesn't have the ball, sooner or later, somebody's coming up to make the hit.
Hayden Fry's Ball Club. Hayden was talking about his team had probably one of its best off seasons ever. 31-3 in the fourth quarter. 31-3, they've outscored their opponents. And again, that's a tribute to a couple of things. Number one, Bob Elliott was telling me that his team, his kids are smart enough to make adjustments on the fly during the game. They don't need halftime. They don't need a break in periods. They can do it from series to series, and that's been effective in the fourth quarter. They can make adjustments to what the offense is doing. Vernon Rollins heads off that running play by Illinois, and it is no gain. May have been a loss of a yard back to the 16-yard line. John LaFleur was also there. Talked to Hayden Fry about his team's character, and it really shows up in the fourth quarter of these games.
You know, it's difficult to figure out. My defensive staff does a great job at halftime making adjustments, and we've seemed to really shut down people on the things that they were doing successfully the first half. And then our offense perks up the second half, which means we keep the ball away from the other team more on the clock, a possession standpoint. So I think the combination of those 2 things have helped us look pretty good in the second half.
Vernon Rollins on the interception for a touchdown. And the Iowa Hawkeyes extend the advantage to 23-14. As Hayden was talking about the character of his team, the adjustments they're able to make in the second half of their games, pressure on the quarterback precipitates an interception by the linebacker.
Well, you haven't seen Scott Weaver make these kind of mistakes. Under heavy pressure, deep in your own territory, he throws the ball basically up for grabs, and Vernon Rollins sits right underneath it and then has an easy trot into the end zone for the touchdown.
Jared DeVries is the defensive lineman who shook loose and pressured the quarterback in Vernon Rollins with a 20-yard return for a touchdown. Zach Brommer has the extra point successfully through the uprights. The Iowa Hawkeyes lead by their biggest margin of the afternoon. It is 24-14 over Illinois. Vernon Rollins, a linebacker, strikes pay dirt. Today's Big Ten Conference game is a copyrighted telecast of Creative Sports Incorporated. Any use of the pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this broadcast without the express prior written consent of Creative Sports is prohibited. Wayne Larrivee with Randy Wright and Jim Barber. Well, Vernon Rollins trying to disrupt homecoming here on the campus of the University of Illinois. His 20-yard interception return of a third down Scott Weaver pass has put the Hawkeyes on top by 10. But really, you've got to credit Jared DeVries up front on the defensive line for forcing Scott Weaver into a bad throw.
It was a bad throw and a bad decision, as you said. Pressure coming in there on an unenviable situation for Illinois' offense, and Weaver throwing the ball up there. As you watch Scott Weaver, there's a reluctance to throw the ball away. When you're backed up like that, you really have to commit yourself to doing that.
George McDonald Ashford was hit by his own man first, but gets it out across the 30-yard line. Boy, he ran into initially one of the blockers, Ryan Moore, on that play. Let's get back to the studio and Mike Leeson. And we will be up at Madtown next week, Madison, Wisconsin. Our game will have the Badgers taking on the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Got a noon Eastern time start with our pregame on that one. Kevin Hardy greeting some of the fans on the sidelines. Former All-America linebacker here at Illinois.
Well, he's got an outstanding NFL career ahead of him, doesn't he?
No question about it.
Kind of makes me glad I was out of the league before he got in there.
He'd be chasing you down, no doubt. Illinois trailing Iowa by 10. Illinois trailing by 10 now for the first time today with 13:04 left to go in the fourth quarter. To the sidelines, Jim Barber.
Wayne, I don't know if you refer to this game as a rivalry or not, but things are getting pretty heated, and the officials have come over and have warned both benches about some unsportsmanlike conduct away from the ball. That was just moments ago.
Weaver going downfield, and that ball was tipped by Matt Hughes, intended on the play for the big tight end, Matt Cushing. And the linebacker Hughes taking a deeper drop that time. May have gotten a piece of it.
You hear a lot about the linebackers for Iowa being good run stoppers. Now look at Hughes get a good read on Weaver and gets over there just in time to knock that ball away from a receiver that appeared to be open.
Second down and 10. Weaver off play action. Had Ty Douthert open in the flat and overshot him. Well, you think it's cold? How about this? That wind is what makes it cold, I'm telling you. You could take the wind out of Illinois. This might be a nice place to be. But that ain't going to happen.
How about a warm wind? Would that be okay?
No. All the warm wind is going to do, Randy, is screw up your golf game. Third down. Wind is not good in any way, shape, or form. Weaver struggling this week, especially here in the second half. Now it's third down. Dulick in motion. Weaver under immediate pressure. Jared DeVries, somebody has forgotten to block Jared DeVries in the fourth quarter, and he's made two big plays.
And it's not as though they don't know he's capable of doing it. He came into today's game with 8 sacks and 15 tackles for loss. Scott Weaver never sees him. You have to have confidence in your offensive line to think they're going to protect you. Never even looks that way and gets crushed.
Higgins on in punt formation. They're catch signal made by Demo Odoms. Iowa will start from its 42-yard line. So the Hawkeyes beginning to grab control of this football game, leading by 10, 24-14. What did Mike Gleason say that Minnesota hasn't won at the Horseshoe since like 1949? My goodness. I'd say they're overdue, but it's going to happen today.
Say it's going to be not going to happen this year.
No. Sedrick Shaw almost had it beaten. Down to the 45-yard line on a gain of 14 yards. Mike Gusick, a touchdown saving tackle. And like we said, this is the best Sedrick Shaw has looked in some time.
And this is his kind of game. When you can run north and south and deliver the blow, this is a back that gets better as the game goes on. And when he's not healthy, it really affects him because he's not the kind of back that likes to go down or likes to avoid contact. And I would imagine he's going to get a lot of work here in this fourth quarter.
147 yards. Remember, Iowa had just 21 yards rushing total in their game against Illinois last year. Sedrick Shaw to the 40-yard line. Illinois is last in the Big Ten in rushing defense. They are 10th in the conference in pass defense and number 10 overall defensively. It's been a highly unusual year in that regard for Illinois under Lou Tepper. Always one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, but all the new faces on defense and the second-year players and new people into this defense have taken a toll.
And that's why, Wayne, they are a defense that tries to emphasize technique and discipline, and they try and out-execute you. Well, you get younger players where they don't have the technique or the discipline yet, and they make the mistakes. They don't do a lot of things to confuse you.
Shaw trying to bounce it to the outside. David James arrives on the scene. It's a loss of 5. We'll leave it 3rd and 10. Now, Sedrick Shaw, wasn't so much David James made that play. He tripped as he came out of there.
Tripped and lost his balance, and then when he got way out to the outside, he had no blockers in front of him, and he was easy pickings for the Illini defense. Back to that point, Lou Tepper, though, also feels that a lot of these young players are going to become very good players, and as they learn the discipline, they learn how to use the technique, much like Kevin Hardy and Simeon Rice. He said they didn't make a lot of big plays as freshmen either because they had to learn that system as well.
So it is 3rd down for Iowa, 10 yards to go. Sherman. Tavian Banks made the first man miss, lost his footing out of play. Stepped out of the 39-yard line. Dennis Stallings in pursuit. Danny Clark was first to the ball. And it is 4th down for Iowa and almost 6 yards to go.
You have to be impressed with the linebacking corps today for Illinois. Danny Clark and Stallings and David James, these guys have really stepped up their game and done a nice job. We saw there when it was 3rd and 10 and Iowa completed the pass. Because Illinois has that 8th defender back in pass coverage, Danny Clark can come up and make the hit. Even though it was a completion, it's still short of the first down.
Nick Gallery has placed 3 down inside the 20 coming into today's game. But it is not Gallery making that punt. Brian Hurley tried to get good leverage on it. Instead, he got a backup on it, and an Illinois bounce. The ball caroms out of bounds across the 31-yard line, and the Illini trailing by 10 get it back with just over 10 minutes to go in the game. That Christmas card not looking too good now for the Wolverines, you know. They were out for blood. They'd like a lot bigger margin than that.
They like that goose egg up there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. 9-yard punt has set up Illinois. Just a 9-yard punt by Brian Hurley has set up Illinois with a first down just across their 31-yard line. They trail by 10. 10 minutes and 4 seconds to go in the game. It is time for Illinois to make a move here. Hughes makes the stop and gain of barely a yard. Well, Jim Barber is in the far corner of the stadium. There he is near that rock right there on the right side of your screen. So, Jim, what do you have for us over there?
Some great history, Wayne. The great Red Grange played here, died at the age of 77. He was the galloping ghost, and in fact, he was the one player that people still talk about here. Radio was in its infancy back then, TV non-existent, so Grattler Rice captured him with the words, A streak of fire, a breath of flame, eluding all who could reach and clutch. A great ghost thrown into the game that rival hands may never touch.
Interception off a tip pass. Damien Robinson, and he's out of bounds at the 31-yard line of Illinois. The Iowa defense making big plays in the fourth quarter to preserve and, in fact, build a 10-point lead. Penalty marker down late in the play, maybe for a hit out of bounds.
Take a look at the play, a little play-action pass to give a little better protection, and Weaver throws the ball again, just gets tipped right there at the end, right into Damien Robinson's lap. You hear a lot about Robinson as a hitter, but he leads this team with 4 interceptions and 10 pass breakups.
I think Vernon Rollins got a piece of that to tip it over to Robinson. So the Iowa Hawkeyes take over.
That's the second pass over the middle that we've seen tipped by an Iowa defender. Usually that means your quarterback is late in getting the ball there.
Damien Robinson with his 5th interception of the season. First down, and the Hawkeyes go with the big guy, Michael Berger. A road grader plows to the 24-yard line. Robinson here today, the Iowa safety, has an interception and a fumble recovery. Triggered a fumble on his hip and recovered it earlier in the ball game. There he is.
And he is an outstanding player. You talk to anybody from Iowa, and they just have wonderful things to say about this guy. He's got excellent speed. He's good size, 6'2", 205-pound senior. He came in 3rd on the team in tackles at 73, and they think he's got a lot of football to be played on Sundays yet ahead of him.
Yeah, I think he's going to play on Sunday. I really do. Maybe as early as next year. Second down. Berger again. Nothing fancy here. And Jeff Wise made the stop for Illinois. So time now becoming a factor as far as the Illini are concerned. They trail by 10. 8:16 left to go.
For this offense for Illinois, they need to be able to play basically error-free and stay within their rhythm, which is the ball control, get first down. When they get out of that, as we've seen here in the fourth quarter, it all started on the poor decision by Weaver to throw the ball that was intercepted for the touchdown. When they get out of that, try and make big plays, they don't do very well.
Sedrick Shaw, the lone setback. Knipper in motion. The toss Shaw. He's coming in the near side. Gusick made the stop, and it might have been a touchdown-saving tackle, but it's a first down. There is a penalty marker. You see a flag down on that play?
Looks like one down by about the 1-yard line.
I don't think so. I think it's a piece of equipment of some sort. So the left corner on the near side. Let's go back to the sidelines and Jim Barber.
When you were accurate on the last play, the interception by Robbins was aided by a tip by Robbins, who already is a pick, as you know, for a touchdown. One of the coaches on the sideline said, even though we're doing well right now, guys, keep the fire going. Actually, I'd like to find a fire here on the sidelines. It's cold.
Those big wide bodies have moved Jim off of the heater, I could see. He's left to fend for himself. First down from the 14. Sedrick Shaw hit by Paul Marshall first and then covered up back near the 16-yard line on a loss of 2 yards.
Tackle made by number 93.
We will be in Madison, Wisconsin next week, noon Central Time start. Or I should say noon Eastern Time start on many of these Big Ten conference stations. Minnesota and Wisconsin. It's a home game for you, Randy. Right?
Home game. Don't have to travel far for that one.
Boy, the connections you must have in that town. Well, we'll just try to ride your coattails through that weekend. We're expecting big things.
Don't embarrass me, though, okay?
We'll try not to. Penalty markers down, I believe, against the offense for a double shift, if I'm not mistaken. Illegal motion will be the call.
Dead ball. False start. Any offense. 5 yards.
To the studio.
Second down.
And Mike Gleason. No surprise there, I suppose. Ohio State's next big challenge will be Michigan late in the season.
At home in the horseshoe.
Yep.
Well, Minnesota started so well, 3-0. Has really run into some trouble since then.
They ran into the Big Ten schedule. That's what they ran into. Second down. Second and long. Sherman on the roll, looking to make a play to the end zone. Tim Dwight, and it is intercepted. Intercepted by Trevor Stargell. Second interception of the day for him. So the Illini thwart the Iowa drive, and with 6:13 to go, Illinois may have one last chance to get back into this game.
You see right there as Sherman pumps, then he tries to throw across his body. That first pump brings Trevor Stargell from the left side over, and he gets there again just in the nick of time to come up with the interception.
Randy, you can't really fault the defense today for Illinois.
No, I agree. I think you've got to give them a lot of credit. I think they played very well against a talented, big play, balanced offense. They have done a nice job of coming up with plays, creating some plays. The offense in the second half that hasn't done what they do best. Move the ball, create first downs. In fact, the offense has contributed to some points.
And Randy, this offense, and we've talked about it, this ball control offense has to play close to or on the lead. It's tough to come back with an offense like this. Weaver has to go to the air. Looking for a receiver. Weaver gets it away, and he threw it right through the hands of Matt Cushing, the junior tight end out of Chicago.
Wayne, one of the criticisms of Scott Weaver has been he doesn't put mistakes behind him. He'll make a mistake and he'll dwell on it. And we saw that the last couple of series. After the interception by Rollins that was returned, he's kind of gone into a little valley right here. With 6 minutes to go and only down by 10 points, there's plenty of time left with this wind at his back. He needs to forget about these last three drives and put something together right now.
2nd and 10. Tipped by DeVries, intercepted by Chambers. Little touch pass over the middle, and a lot of Hawkeyes in the neighborhood, and they take it away again. So Chambers comes up with the interception off the tip.
You can just see how this Hawkeye defense, as you alluded to earlier, elevates its game in the fourth quarter. They pride themselves on that. This is the third tip ball, the second that gets the interception. It looks as though there's plenty of room for Weaver to throw the ball, but DeVries at the line of scrimmage gets his hands up there and tips it up, and more times than not, when you tip the ball into the air over the middle, it's going to get intercepted.
What a big fourth quarter, and Brett Chambers who made the interception here, but what a big quarter that Jared DeVries has played here.
Whether it be rushing and getting some sacks, putting some pressure on the quarterback, or tipping the ball and getting the assist on the interception.
He forced one interception with a pass rush. He tipped this one and allowed his teammate Chambers to intercept again here in the fourth quarter. Sedrick Shaw, as we get under 6 minutes to go in the ball game. Iowa leading 24-14. We showed you in the very open of the program this morning that Iowa relies on big plays offensively, and that is true, although it hasn't really been the case here today. But what they do better than anyone in the Big Ten Conference is they flat out slam the door on you defensively in the fourth quarter, and that's been the case.
And Wayne, you and I have talked many times, what separates players is they play big at big times in big situations. And in the fourth quarter, Jared DeVries has really stepped up and played well today.
Sedrick Shaw, you saw him a moment ago down on the turf. There's Jared DeVries. Sedrick Shaw shaken up, and he had just looked like he returned to health today. It's been one of those years for the Iowa running back. We'll be back. Well, they just got Sedrick Shaw healthy, and he got dinged up on that last play. It looks like he'll be all right. He's got a smile on his face, shaking his head, saying, gosh, every time I start feeling good, I get hammered again.
I think he's smiling because he's not seriously hurt this time for the first time in a month.
2nd down and 4 off the gain of 6 by Shaw in the previous play. Tavian Banks, able understudy of Sedrick Shaw, down to the 11-yard line, gain of a couple of yards. So it'll be 3rd down, and again the clock now rolling down to 5 minutes left to go in the ball game. Iowa leading by 10.
Gain of 2 yards.
Matt Chambers, whose interception set up this latest Iowa drive.
Ball on the 11-yard.
Iowa doing a big job on the ground here today. Illinois is not going to add to that rushing total a whole lot in this fourth quarter as they trail by 10. 3rd down and about 2. Sherman rolling out. to the end zone. Touchdown, Tim Dwight. Oh, a pretty catch right at the sideline of the end zone. That should be game, set, and match.
Iowa has done this ever since Hayden Fry has been there. 3rd and 2, they go for the kill. They throw the ball. Nice job of Dwight setting up the defender, Williams, and then, as you said, nice job catching the ball right in the corner of the end zone.
Hey, that would have been a touchdown on Sunday as well. He got both feet down in bounds. Zach Bromert for the point after. And the Iowa Hawkeyes, with 4:40 to go in the game, have a 31-14 lead on Illinois. Iowa came in with a record of 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Their only loss last week to Ohio State. And Hayden Fry and company coming up down the road as you take a look ahead. A big one against Northwestern next week. Those are two border rivalries, Wisconsin and Minnesota. Those are big games on the Iowa schedule every year, regardless of what the records are.
And that's one of those rivalries we have seen in the Big Ten where more times than not you can throw out the records, especially that Wisconsin one with Barry Alvarez and Hayden Fry being together for so long.
And they've been pointing to Northwestern for a year since getting beaten up in Evanston last year. The Illinois schedule, well, doesn't get any easier here at home. The big Ohio State machine comes to town next week, the second-ranked team in the nation. Then a road game in Minnesota and back into the cold against Wisconsin to round it out. Tim Dwight, well, we talked of his big play prowess. We haven't seen him break many returns or necessarily any runs, but
we haven't seen him make the big plays, but he's been open. They just haven't gotten the ball to him today.
Very good point. Kick bounds to the return man, and Wilbert Smith out across the 25 to the 28-yard line. Doug Miller made the stop for Iowa. Also in on that tackle, Ryan Lofton. 31-14, the Hawkeyes with a monster of a fourth quarter. Now, again, the scoreboard will belie this, but this was a tight ball game going into the fourth, a three-point ball game. The Iowa defense, not so much the offense, but the defense has triggered what is fast becoming a blowout now, 31-14.
And what we haven't seen that they did in the fourth quarter is when the defense triggered it, the offense took advantage of those opportunities.
Out of the shotgun, Weaver sets up a screen over the middle to Jason Doolittle. And Matt Hughes makes the tackle to the 35-yard line, a gain of 7.
Well, when you're getting a pass rush as aggressively as Iowa is, sometimes the screen's the only thing you can throw. And right there, one of the few positive plays the Illini offense has had in this fourth quarter.
Second down, and it's about 3 yards to go. On the delay, Robert Holcomb broke a couple of tackles and gets out across the 42-yard line. Boy, he really is a nice runner. John Ortlieb made the stop, and it's a first down for the Fighting Illini of Illinois.
This is a player, Wayne, Robert Holcomb. I don't think he ever looks at the scoreboard during the game. It doesn't matter what the situation is. He's going to run hard every play.
Junior out of Mesa, Arizona. 5th all-time leading rusher in Illinois football history. Weaver. Ball tipped again. Nearly intercepted, this time by Tom Clark. And now here's the new Dodge play of the game, brought to you by the new Dodge. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you. Earlier in this fourth period of play, Scott Weaver back to pass under pressure from Jared DeVries, lets this one go, and Vernon Rollins steps in front of Rob McJoy, takes it 20 yards for a touchdown, and the Iowa Hawkeyes quickly took control of the game at that point.
I think that's right. I think that was the beginning of the end for the Illini offense.
No question. Second down and 10 for Illinois. Again, a quick toss into the flat. Oh, Mosley, it opens up like the Red Sea for Moses. Marcus Mosley to the 31-yard line of Iowa. First down for the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Eric Thigpen made what might have been a touchdown-saving tackle, 29-yard gain. Big Ben limping off after making that play.
Haven't heard a lot of Marcus Mosley today. He came in as a second leading receiver. Again, this play, the same as before. Just a simple little screen, only this time to Mosley instead of Doolittle.
The officials holding up the action now with 3:37 to go in the game. Iowa leading 31-14.
Timeout, Iowa.
Hawkeyes needed a timeout. I think Big Ben left and they didn't have enough men on the field. So we've got a break here. Paul Shudell on the sidelines with Marcus Mosley and Scott Weaver. Let's go to the Big Ten studio. Mike Gleason. My goodness, things have tightened considerably there. Take a look at what's happening in this ball game. Iowa really established itself on the ground early in the ball game. Sedrick Shaw, 157 yards, 70 yards in the first quarter. Illinois, those second half turnovers have really killed them, especially in the fourth quarter.
And you can take that back to last week's game as well. They played a picture-perfect game for the most part last week till the last interception. That's why they were in it till the very end. They were in it until they started having those turnovers today. But once that comes, you just can't win. Most teams, you can take the time of possession and throw it out the window. If you win the turnover battle, you're going to win 90% of the game.
First down from the 31-yard line for Illinois in Iowa territory. Weaver, the short drop. Jason Doolittle came back to make that catch underneath the coverage of Ples Atkins and got an extra couple of yards after the hit. Down near the 22-yard line, a gain of about 9. You know, Randy, you're so right about time of possession. People talk about it all the time. But if you've got the ball a long time and you don't score many points, time of possession doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. I agree. I think it's the most overrated statistic that you use.
Again, Weaver, short drop, throw to the near side. Rob McJoy got the first down at the 16-yard line of Iowa underneath the coverage of Tom Clark.
Illinois trying to get this ball in the end zone with only 3 minutes and 7 seconds to go. Don't think for a minute Iowa's not playing as hard as they can. They haven't given up a touchdown in the fourth quarter all year, and they are determined to try and keep them out.
The only score in the fourth quarter against Iowa was a field goal by Arizona the first weekend of the season on the first play of the fourth quarter in that game at Iowa City. Swing pass into the flat. Robert Holcomb with a head of steam. Down close to the 1-yard line. Let's go back to the Big Ten studio. Mike Gleason. Somebody give that young runner a bone.
He has really come on. Chris Howard the last couple of weeks had a big game last week against Minnesota. Apparently another big one here.
They've got some nice running backs at Michigan. They always do, it seems like.
They always do.
Illinois trying to score the first touchdown of the season in the fourth quarter against the Iowa defense. Timed out there, touchdown. Well, when you're speaking from the Illini standpoint, it's not a lot to hang your head on, but at this juncture of the season, 8 games deep, you are the only offense to have scored a touchdown on the Iowa Hawkeyes in the fourth quarter.
That's a good point. In that drive, you saw what Illinois had done basically for the last 6 quarters. They put it together, they went short yardage and kept the drives going. When they try and force the big plays, that's when they have the problems.
Neil Rackers for the point after, and the kick is good. So 2:54 left to go in the game. It's again a 10-point ball game in favor of the Iowa Hawkeyes, 31-21. Now, do you think onside kick in this situation?
I think it won't be your stereotypical onside kick, 10-yard scramble. I think they'll try that pooch punt that we have seen become more popular, or the pooch kick that we've seen become more popular, where it goes about 25 yards and you try and get a bounce and you try and get down there and catch it. But yes, I do think you'll see something like that.
Well, we've got some action going again in the big house. Mike Gleason, what's happening?
Well, Wayne, we told you it's 45-29, giving Spartan fans equal time. That's Travis Reese getting the 29th point from a yard out. But again, about 2 minutes ago, it's 45-29 Michigan.
Want to make sure you're politically correct in this decade of the 90s, Mike Gleason. I'm glad you added that Michigan State highlight. Big Ben, we mentioned him, the defensive back for Iowa, heading off, had leg injury a few moments ago. Eric Big Ben, one of the nickel backs for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
If you look, Wayne, at the end of every season, when you look back at the season, the teams that have done well and play well in November are the teams that stay healthy. And for the most part, Iowa's getting its injured players back. Sedrick Shaw, Tavian Banks has been banged up. He's coming back. You don't want any of those injuries to anybody.
Well, let's see what they try here. Neil Rackers has it on the tee. There's the onside kick. Covered by the Hawkeyes. I believe that was Jed Dull, a tight end who fell on the football. At the 45-yard line of Illinois, Iowa will take over. Just under 3 minutes to go in the game, and the Hawkeyes leading by 10.
Well, just like I said, it wouldn't be the stereotypical kick the ball 10 yards and try and scramble for it.
Oh, my. Do you ever get the feeling that you verbally jinxed something to happen on the field?
You know, Hayden Fry had told us, and the people at Iowa had said, you know, they weren't really happy with the way their offense had been playing. That they just, even though they were 5-2, they just didn't feel as though they were that good a team. I think if they can continue to play like they did in the second half today, they'll make a good run at it the rest of the season.
Ryan Driscoll is in, a senior quarterback out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Sedrick Shaw gets the call for about 2 or 3 yards up the middle. Here is a look at Ryan's work on the year. Like we said, a senior out of Cedar Rapids. You know, this Iowa ball club, I talk about, Cedar Rapids is not too far from Iowa City. The Hawkeyes have 5 players on their squad from Iowa City High School. That'll do wonders for saving on your recruiting budget. That high school has been outstanding. They've won 51 games more than any other school in Iowa since 1992, and that includes 2 state championships. And they've gotten some good players out of that school. Tim Dwight, their place kicker Brian Hurley, defensive end Jason House, Rob Tyne, a running back, and a linebacker by the name of Mark Mitchell. All have come from Iowa City High School.
Well, not only does it save on your recruiting budget, but if you're a good college program and you're taking that many players from the same high school, they're a pretty good high school program.
The other factor that Iowa has is a good walk-on program. 9 members of their 2 deep joined the program originally as walk-ons. They do a good job at developing players on this Iowa team.
They have always recruited in their state very well. They've recruited in Wisconsin very well. And when you can recruit in the states that your school is in and the states around you, you're going to have a pretty good program because there's so much good talent in this area.
Back to the Big Ten studio to Mike Gleason. Mike, Purdue ball club coming back up in Madison, huh?
33-25 when you're ahead 24-0. And Purdue's offense has not been known to explode like that this year.
Second down for Iowa. Second down and about it. Tavian Banks got hit early on that play. Good penetration by Paul Marshall on the defensive front for Illinois. And it will bring up a 3rd down for Iowa. They lost 1.5 yards.
No quit here in this Illini defense. They're calling their timeouts now and forcing Iowa to a 3rd and 10. Either run the ball again or risk stopping the clock with an incomplete pass. They still feel they've got a chance to win here with 2:38 to go. We've seen stranger things happen this year in the Big Ten.
Scott Weaver, when he was injured last week at Northwestern, there were all kinds of rumors that he had a fractured hand and that he would not return to the game. He did not have a fractured hand, but he had quite a gash. It took, what, over 22 stitches on that hand, that left hand. And Lou Tepper was saying that he and Scott Weaver were about the only 2 people who would come back and play with that injury. 2 guys from Pittsburgh, Weaver and Tepper. Tepper said, I'd come back because I was dumb enough to come back. He'd come back because he has great courage. And he certainly did last week, and he played well in that ball game. Back to Mike Gleason for more on Ohio State.
All right.
Got a horse race going for Big Ten leadership and rushing touchdowns between those 2 young performers. And as we pointed out earlier, 9 of the top 10 rushers in the Big Ten are underclassmen. It's amazing the young talent, the youth of this conference that we're seeing on the field. Illinois' defense dotted with many second-year players, some redshirt freshmen, sophomore players. Iowa, the trio of the 2 linebackers and a defensive tackle. In the middle of the Iowa defense, Jared DeVries on the line and Hughes and Rollins at the linebacking core, all the sophomores. 3rd down and 10 for the Iowa offense. Driscoll at the controls. on the slant, a bit wide of the mark with that bullet throw intended for Tim Dwight underneath the coverage of James Williams, and it's 4th down, Hawkeyes. Illinois still 1 timeout remaining, 2:35 left on the clock, and Iowa leading by 10. Again, Brian Hurley on for the pooch kick. Marcus Mosley back deep. Gets pretty good leverage into this. Fair catch signal made. Mosley drifts over and makes the catch at the 10-yard line. Tim Dwight was pretty close. There's a penalty marker down, but that the trajectory of the ball and Mosley chasing it took him closer to Tim Dwight.
I think you're going to see the interference call here, but for the exact reason you just said. I don't think it's Tim Dwight's fault. It just happened to turn out like that.
Kick catch interference on the kicking team. Violation of the 2-yard zone. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Yeah, it was more of circumstance than anything else, and that's what Hayden Fry is talking about. Watch this. Tim Dwight will be on the left side of your screen, and Mosley, that ball just carried over there, and Tim Dwight tried to back away, but last moment he was in violation of that 2-yard zone.
Only a 5-yard penalty, so not a substantial difference.
I don't think it's going to break anybody's back. First down. Football just across the 15-yard line of Illinois. Weaver in the shotgun. Weaver trying to hit Ty Douthert, and good coverage provided on the play by Brett Chambers. Let's get down to the sideline. Oh, and penalty marker down. Very late. I wonder if Chambers interfered with him, may have held him on the play.
Covering for the Iowa defense, number 47.
It's going to be against Iowa, I believe, at least holding the call against the Iowa defense.
On the defense, 10 yards, first down.
To the sidelines, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Wayne. Whitney and Scott Lowers are lucky enough to get a Kevin Hardy autograph. In fact, Kevin, the outstanding linebacker we talked to moments ago, doing some business in the background. That's a collector's item there, sir.
Oh, we're sure happy. We're proud of the fact that we did get to meet him. We've always been a big fan of his, and we wish him well with the Jacksonville team this year.
I got to talk to you about your son. We're in Michigan here at the University of Illinois. That's got to go.
Oh, he's been a Michigan fan all his life, but if he keeps coming to these Illinois games, we'll make an Illinois fan out of him yet.
They don't razz you about that, do they, Whitney?
No.
Back to you, Wayne.
I wonder if Whitney cares to elaborate on that.
On the defense, 5 yards.
Offsides at Iowa. Bill Ennis-Henge came across it. Iowa's been plagued by penalties here today, but again, their outstanding play defensively in the 4th quarter of this ball game has more than made up for their deficiencies in terms of penalties.
So, I'm surprised Kevin Hardy didn't take that kid's head off wearing that Michigan shirt, asking for an autograph. That's the gutsiest play we've seen today.
That may be. First down and 5 for Illinois. Tipped and caught by Illinois. Tipped by an Iowa lineman and then caught by the Fighting Illini of Illinois. I believe Ortlieb, the man who tipped that, and then it was Jason Dulick who made the catch. Let's go back to the Big Ten studio, Mike Gleason. And very late here, 1:46 to go. The net result on that tip pass was a loss of 1, and it's 2nd down and 6 yards to go. Scott Weaver trying to thread the needle to Marcus Mosley, and a penalty marker down. Ples Atkins over the back at the 40-yard line.
Well, Iowa's doing their best to help Illinois continue this drive, as we've seen several penalties in a row in Illinois without having anything.
Pass interference on the defense. Spot foul. First down.
Without having anything run successfully, Illinois has been able to move the ball all the way out to the 40-yard line.
And another first down for Illinois. And penalties now. Take a look at this. Iowa, we showed you a graphic earlier of how improved Iowa was in terms of penalties this year as compared to last, but today, wow. That'll give Hayden Fry something to talk about this week, huh? Although he's never been one loss for words.
He's never been shy.
Good throw and catch, and that's Jason Dulick, the veteran receiver, the senior out of St. Louis, Missouri, 5th-year senior, 3rd all-time leading receiver for Illinois. pickup of about 4. Career leaders, David Williams was a great receiver here, and Jason Dulick moving up the list. He will be number 2 before his career is out. Weaver lets it go. Dulick's got another one. Another catch and a gain of 4 yards out to the 48-yard line.
Wayne, this is where you see, because Illinois doesn't have as many weapons in its arsenal offensively, they tend to run the same play when it works for them time and time and time again, and you can't run that wide receiver screen so many times and have it continue to be successful. Iowa now has that play figured out.
Illinois forced to use its final timeout with 61 seconds left to go in the game. And again, we'll be in Madison, Wisconsin next week to see the Badgers take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And again, airtime 12 o'clock Eastern time with our pregame right here on many of these Big Ten Network stations. Iowa Hawkeyes. Bob Elliott is the defensive coordinator of the Iowa Hawkeyes, and of course his dad was Bump Elliott, longtime athletic director of Iowa, and his uncle was Pete Elliott, who was the coach here at Illinois, who in the mid-60s took the Fighting Illini of Jim Grabowski and Dick Butkus out to Pasadena in a Rose Bowl victory. And Pete Elliott, of course, for many years ran the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and did an outstanding job with one of the best shrines of sports I've ever seen.
Fans starting to...
A little dancing going on there.
Dance and celebrate. Must be an Iowa fan.
No, I think he's just warming up for one of those post-game parties here at Happy Hour in Champaign.
He's a football fan waiting for the post-game.
Hey, what's up, man? There's a group shot. Third down, Illinois. Weaver 13 at 29. Nice slant pattern. Jason Dulick, first down to the Iowa 40-yard line. Jason Dulick on a gain of about 12 yards.
And you referred to him earlier when he has been a solid player for Illinois. Seems like forever.
Yeah. Seems like he's in his 15th year here. You can't think of the offense of Illinois without thinking Jason Dulick, number 83. Obviously, we're being facetious. Bill Ennis-Inge, and the quarterback never suspected a thing. Sacked back near the 48-yard line. Ennis-Inge just fought through the block, and a loss of about 8 yards. Weaver downs the ball, stopping the clock with 33 seconds to go. Iowa leading 31-21, and the Hawkeyes are going on to their 6th win of the season, which would ensure a bowl bid of some sort. Meanwhile, they're still 4-1 in the Big Ten race. Illinois, under Lou Tepper, falls to 2-6, 1-4 in the Big Ten.
And their next 2 games, tough games, Northwestern and Wisconsin, both at home. And Iowa City's a tough place to play.
It sure is. You get 70,000 plus there, and they are passionate about their Hawkeyes. This is a good win for Iowa. Jared DeVries all over the quarterback, Weaver. The pass off the mark to Holcomb, and boy, did he absorb a hit from Damien Robinson and a penalty marker down.
Incomplete pass intended for Robert Holcomb. Flag on the play. Covering for the Iowa defense.
Penalty marker down.
Damien Robinson.
On the defense.
Well, no surprise, Robert Holcomb, as tough as he is, gets right up after this hit, but take a listen to it. We'll hear it at ground level. Take a listen to this contact.
Almost sounded like a gunshot, didn't it?
Those 2 guys are meant to collide with something.
They've had a couple of collisions today.
Bounce right back up,
yeah,
though, every
neither
time,
one of them,
don't they?
It's like they were never hit. Both of them are like that. Robert Holcomb and Damien Robinson. It has been quite a matchup to watch. The game within the game, so to speak. Illinois off this penalty. Of the football to the 25-yard line. And the officials aren't quite ready to put it in play with 29 seconds to go. Again, Iowa leading by 10. They're going to remark
Trying to find the proper spot.
Yeah, they move it back a couple of yards. Much of this crowd of about 50,000 has vacated the building. Here's a first down for Illinois from the 30. Wide open Rob McJoy. First and goal at the Iowa 9. Vernon Rollins made the stop. 22 yards the gain.
Illinois trying to get this ball back into the end zone. No timeouts left.
Coming up on 20 seconds to go, and he stops the clock with 21 seconds remaining. Well, you've got to appreciate the fact that Illinois is playing it right down to the final seconds.
And as you had said, they had that lapse there in the third quarter, but they're trying to build on something here in the fourth quarter. They're behind. They don't really have the offense to come back quickly, but they are putting some things together. And if there's anything they can gain from this, they still have games left to play. Build on the offensive production here.
Second and goal at the 9. Weaver to the corner of the end zone. Intended for Rob McJoy. I'm not sure if Kerry Cooks got a piece of it, but his coverage was pretty good. It would have taken an absolutely perfect throw to complete that pass.
And that's a ball you have to throw so quickly because you have to put air underneath it so that your receiver can adjust to it. If it's not a perfectly executed play, it doesn't work. Not much room for error in that one.
Special thanks to Dave Johnson and the sports information staff here at Illinois and head coach Lou Tepper. Also to Phil Hattie and Steve Rowe and his group over at Iowa and head coach Hayden Fry. Now on third down, and Weaver again. This pass a little bit too strong for Rob McJoy. Underneath the coverage of Kerry Cooks. And it is fourth down and goal to go with just 14 seconds to go in the game.
See, Scott Weaver, we saw his statistics from today just a minute ago, 15 for 34. He knew this would not be a big game for completion percentage. Playing against this defense, the man-to-man, your completion percentage is generally low. What he has had that's hurt him, though, is the 3 interceptions.
Fourth down for Illinois. Last gasp. Weaver overshot everybody out of play, and again, good coverage on Weaver's favorite target, the senior Jason Dula. So it is fourth down, make it first down Iowa with just 9 seconds to go, and that should do it. One snap, and Hayden Fry very happy to get this win. It comes between two very important games on the Iowa schedule. Ohio State and Iowa City last week. Illinois this week on the road, Northwestern back home next week.
And this has been a game that has given Iowa trouble the last 3 years, 122-17. They've come up on the short end. So this is one that he's walking out here very happy to get a victory by any measure.
One more snap is all she wrote, and Iowa will have its first win over Illinois since 1992. And that will do it. Final score, the Iowa Hawkeyes and Hayden Fry win their 6th game of the season, 31-21 over the Fighting Illini of Illinois. For Jim Barber, Randy Wright, and our entire crew, so long from Champaign. We'll see you next week in Madison.